We are good to go, my friend.
All right, excellent.
Dude, this is awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. Just glad to be here.
Of course. All right. So, man, where do we start? So you have an incredible story. I know you pointed it out in during lecture, but if you could just recap, that'd be awesome.
So let me start just by saying, my name is Amilcar Flores. I go by Mika most of the time. I teach here at Texas A&M University and also grade for Dr. Clark's class. The lecture that I had the first day really was something that came since even the beginning, before I even got to graduate school. Dr. Clark liked the story that I had, and when it became obvious that I was going to go into this class and we went over the syllabus, he said, take a look at this reading. Read it in the summer and let me know what you think. So I read it, and the message was instantly clear about what the purpose was.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So I came back to him and I said, I think I know why you wanted me to read that. And he was like, well, what do you think about lecturing the first week of class? Now, that's kind of shocking at first, but I said, of course. And he said, can you come up with something and make a short presentation? And I said, of course. And I thought about it, and I didn't want to do it any other way but just tell my story. So when the class finally did come, I started it out with, I'm the son of two Central American immigrants. My dad is from Honduras and my mom is from Nicaragua. Both of them grew up with, in the third world. My mom especially didn't have very much growing up. So they both came here, and always blessed for the opportunity to be here, just because I know what they sacrificed. Both my parents came under not the best of circumstances. My father came here when he was very young, after his mother just passed away.
Okay,
and
that's tough.
Yeah, and my mom was forced here by the Sandinista government in Nicaragua, which was the communist government. And my grandpa was in opposition to that. So the communist government threatened to kill them if they didn't leave. So my grandpa arranged for him and his family,
obviously,
and my mother, to get out of Nicaragua.
Wow, okay.
So not exactly the best situation to be leaving their home country, but you know what? It turned out for the best. So they ended up meeting in New Orleans.
Okay.
And presto changeo, I came. And the whole time, and this is what I really wanted to tell and lecture, is that throughout my childhood and even to this day, my parents emphasized that we're very lucky to be here.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to be in America and the opportunity that we have. And lecture what I really wanted to get through in my presentation. If the one thing I wanted people to take away was, we're grateful because not everybody has this chance.
Yes.
Not everybody has this opportunity. And I don't know, and I don't want to know where I would be if I wasn't here in America. And I don't take any of that for granted. And the biggest thing is, people ask me, well, have you seen the American dream physically? Have you experienced it? And I told the class, well, I'm standing in front of you lecturing. The son of two immigrants is talking to a group of 25, well, a big group of 125.
Yeah.
If that isn't the American dream, then I don't know what is.
Exactly.
So I am living the image that my parents had for themselves,
for you.
and for myself and my brother. So that's really what I wanted to get across. Just talk about my parents' experience, talk about not having much myself growing up, but having more than my parents ever did, and never complaining about the tough times.
For sure.
The tough times never broke us. The tough times never broke us. But really is when we got to the top, or what we think is the top.
It is a top for sure.
It's some sort of top. But when we got to that point in Houston, never forgetting what it took to get here.
Yes.
And always that being your motivation of, you could go back.
Yeah.
If you're not careful. So that's really what I wanted to get across in lecture, and I feel like I did.
Because after hearing it, it had a big effect on me, because you hear a lot of stuff in just popular culture with all the immigration and the president, but I feel like a lot of us tend to take for granted how lucky this patch of grass really is.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it's really important for people to travel, maybe experience different cultures and things like that. So have you ever been back? Have you visited other countries or anything like that?
I've been to Honduras twice.
Mm-hmm.
There when I was, I think the first time when I was 9 and the second time when I was 11.
How was that?
Yeah, it was an incredible experience.
Mm-hmm.
The first time, it was actually the first time my father had gone back himself.
Really?
Since leaving.
Uh-huh.
So it was a funny story. My dad told me this last year that he told my grandpa, I'm not coming back until you can pay for me to come back and bring my kids.
Dang. Okay.
And we decided to go, and they picked us up in a limo.
Wow.
They picked us up in a limo, you know.
Uh-huh.
And there's a disconnect between my father and my grandpa just
mm-hmm.
because my grandpa forced my father out in a way after my grandma died, and my dad had to board a plane when he was very young, knowing no English, getting to America, a strange new land. So there was that disconnect between my father and my grandpa for the longest time.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that's what the condition was for my dad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So we got picked up in a limo, and we ended up visiting this city called Copan,
uh-huh.
which is the Mayan ruins in Honduras. And it was an incredible experience that I'll never forget. Is you go to the top of the pyramid, and you get this feeling of immersiveness, ancestry.
Uh-huh.
These people were of my blood. These are my ancestors, and it was a very powerful feeling. And now I'm 9 years old.
Yeah,
I'm thinking this.
Yeah.
But it was incredible being able to go back to where it all started.
Yeah.
Pretty much where my dad's story started. And I think it was the first building block in repairing that relationship between my father and his dad.
It's very important.
So, they've had conversations before talking about the situation, and my dad always says that, he had some anger at first, but it was obviously the best decision that ever happened, because we're here, and you can't really compare a life in Honduras to a life here in America.
Yeah.
Just because our struggles are the best times for them.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, that's but unfortunately that's been the only one country I've been to.
Mm-hmm.
We've always wanted to go to Nicaragua. We just don't have the money right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been outside of the continent, unfortunately.
Oh, gotcha.
So, but yeah, no, Honduras, that was a special experience for me.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So how, if you don't mind me asking,
of course,
how young was your dad when he came over here?
I want to say around 10, 11.
What?
Yeah, around 10, 11 years old.
Boarded a plane and just...
They just boarded a plane right after his mother passed away, and just sent him here. It was her dying wish was to send my dad to America.
Okay.
That was what she wanted. And for him, it was obviously... he's just a kid.
Yeah, he's like, why?
Why? I don't even know English.
That'd mess you up.
Right.
For sure.
So, my dad doesn't really talk much about his mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for sure it's one of those things that my dad looks upon, I'm sure, every day. I don't know. I can never understand what it would be like. Yeah. But I'm sure he looks back every day and says, well, his mother was always looking out for him, even in the final stages of her life. So, and he's a maniac driving, so she has to keep up with him.
I got you.
But I would say that from the outside looking in regards to my dad, he has to say that was an incredibly powerful last wish from my grandma.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Man, that's a lot. Yeah. Especially to take on at that age. I couldn't, not knowing English coming here, that's crazy.
It's tough. It's tough. And I always say that I'm spoiled in that I grew up with all these luxuries,
mm-hmm.
Maybe not luxuries in America, but luxuries mm-hmm. compared to most of the world.
Exactly.
And I try not to complain. I have my typical first world complaints.
Don't we all?
To everybody, but I always try to put it in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody doesn't have a drink of water, somebody doesn't have food on their table. My family in Nicaragua actually still is living very poorly,
mm-hmm.
great poverty, and we send them money when we can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a constant reminder of we're very lucky.
Very, very humbling. man, that's kind of good because it kind of always checks you, which is really nice, and I feel like a lot of us need that.
Right. And I think that's honestly the one thing missing from a lot of people nowadays is a lot of us don't have that moment that we can go back to and check ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't have that time where we can say there was a worse time for not just myself but for my parents.
Yeah.
Or if there is that time, the parents typically they don't want to discuss it, for obvious reasons. Some very painful memories for parents. But I think the point of my parents was telling us their side of the story is remember where we came from and just push it forward.
Yeah.
Make it a better generation for each time.
Exactly.
I was the first kid born on my dad's side in the United States.
That's
so
crazy.
There's that.
Yeah.
There's that history.
Here you go.
So, and just these milestones, breaking them, graduating high school, stepping foot on a university, graduating, it's just these incredible milestones that I view it as typical life in America.
Yeah.
But for them,
it's everything.
In Honduras, it's everything. It's an opportunity that most people over there won't have a chance to do. And it quickly became graduating for myself to I'm graduating for everybody.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. I mean, it puts a little bit of pressure on you, but
I thrive off pressure. Though.
Yeah.
I thrive off of it. I feel like it helps me in my daily life. I feel before in high school, before I had all this extra motivation, I kind of sleptwalked through high school. Not even gonna lie.
Really?
I was a different person and I was a different student. But when I started becoming more aware of family back home and more stories, as I grew up, my parents began to tell me more. And they lit that fire, not only for my own failure, but how it reflected on my family.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to be our legacy. I didn't want a legacy of failure to start here, especially since it did start here with me on my dad's side. So I really took it upon myself to do something that would create change, and be an inspiration at least to my family and others in Honduras. I always say that if they can see me and they can say, well, that he's one of us, he's a brother, he's a sister. I think if I can just get to one kid in Honduras, if I can just change one kid and motivate them to instill some change in them and hopefully be able to motivate them to do something, then it would be all worth it.
Exactly.
It would be worth everything.
Oh, that's important, man. It's very important and it's very cool.
Yeah. I discussed this with my girlfriend Courtney about, we're still college students. Broke college students living on ramen. But we always say that if we ever become wealthy or at least very well off, we had this program that we wanted to do. And
what is it?
It was actually her idea.
Give her the credit.
Yeah, give her the credit. She'll get on me if I don't. But what she said what we should do is we should pay for 1, 2, 3 Honduran kids to come to the United States, provide them a 4-year education.
Okay.
To the university in Texas, educate them, but send them back. And I said, she said, keep them here. And I said, no, because the U.S. doesn't need them.
Yes.
We don't need them,
Yes.
They have enough of me and you and others. We have stars all over this country.
Oh, yes.
Educate these kids. Give them the education that I have, that you have, that she has. Get them to the very pinnacle of their talents and send them home so they can create a change in their country, in our country, in my country. That's how you fix that situation.
Exactly.
And at first I agreed with her, keep them here, get them away from all that. But then you're just putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Exactly.
You're not solving the problem. So if you send, let's say, a group of 10 kids that you fully educated with a bachelor's degree, and you send them back to Honduras, that are 10 kids who have an education, who have a belief system now, who are fully aware of the problems of the world and their own country, and they can solve problems. 10 becomes 100, 100 becomes 1,000. Before you know it, you have a population that's educated, and maybe we can do our small part to help a major problem in Honduras.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
I appreciate it.
That's beautiful.
I appreciate it. It's all her. It's all her.
It's all her.
It's all her.
Oh, man, that is beautiful. I remember hearing a TED talk about that. Like, where it was talking about the immigration problem, how big of a problem it is. Like, they don't need to be here, and a good portion of the time they're sending money back home, or they're going back home.
Yeah.
They're just here to work and do what they have to do. So I like that you have that mindset.
Well, when I tell people that they say, no, they're sending money home, they didn't want to be here. I was like, well, that's the point. They don't want to be here.
Yeah.
This is not a choice. This is a necessity. It's a life and death decision. And believe me, if they could have a job over there and provide for their family, that's a no-brainer. Why would they leave their family willingly?
Exactly.
So, and this is a big topic now, especially nowadays, that these people are just trying to do what we do. The basic necessities of life is getting a paycheck, paying for your kids' school, food, clothing. They're just trying to do what all of us do on a daily basis. That's not much to ask.
Yeah, right.
They're not asking for a Rolex watch or anything like
Yes.
that. They're just asking for an opportunity. Especially the role that the United States and Mexico has played in the politics and economic depression in Honduras. I think that both countries have an obligation to help these people, help my people, to correct the problems that,
of course,
frankly, they caused.
Yeah.
So it's a very sticky situation just because there's not one solution.
No.
But I think
there usually isn't ever.
Yeah, there never is.
Yeah.
But I think we can start with you keeping these people here, giving them a chance. You're sending them back to their death if you deport them because there's a big gang problem in Honduras.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's they're called La Mara Salvatrucha, which is a very powerful gang in Honduras. And whole neighborhoods are under the control of these gangs.
Really?
And the police force cannot keep up with these gangs. There just isn't the money and the infrastructure to keep up with this. So the police in some areas in Honduras are the gangs. You pay them a tax, you do this, you do that.
That's wild.
So this is a human rights crisis. Yeah. This is a matter of life and death for most people in Honduras. So, and in El Salvador, but I think people fail to realize that. I think people just look at it on the surface as these people are leeching off of us, but it's just so much more than that. There's so much more to this problem. Yes. And frankly, the most important thing for me is to get the word out about that. I
had no idea until you just told me.
Right.
That's crazy. Okay.
And I always say that every community has privilege in it. The white community, the black community, the Hispanic community. What's more being privileged than a Hispanic male in America with a college education who is a U.S. citizen? Yeah. That rings privilege to me. So I have an obligation, as do others in the same situation as me, to lead the way for those who don't have the opportunities that we do, to be that barrier in whatever case it needs to be for these people, to give them an opportunity to live their basic human rights, the pursuit of happiness, life and liberty. This is not just an American ideology. This is a worldwide belief. But very few countries are able to provide this to their people. And so that's just where I'm at. Like I said, it's a complicated situation. Yeah. But I think my solution or our solution is a very small one. But if we can just get people to act based on our example, I think that we'll see change. I think we can see change.
I think so too. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of hope in that. But man, I had no idea of that situation in Honduras, and it's in El
Salvador. Yeah, Honduras and these Central American countries are a big. What's the word I'm looking for? They're big networks for the drug trade. Very important passages for the drug trade. So you have these gangs who are in control of these passageways through Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, and it's a very different law over there. People can deny it all they want. both in the Honduran government and the American government, but these gangs have a bigger hold on the people of Honduras than a lot of people in America think. And maybe because we're distracted with so many other things, but I think it's important to say that the leader of the free world should take care of its area first.
For sure. You want things at home, but
right. You got to fix your home area before you can
go
out.
Abroad. Yeah.
Right. So it all starts with, and Honduras has to do their part too, but it starts with the U.S. and Mexico, especially the part that they've played. The U.S. being the biggest purchaser of cocaine and drugs in this hemisphere, and Mexico, where a lot of the cartels are based at.
Yeah.
So you have these triggers that are caused by other countries, but for some reason, Honduras is seen as it's causing its own problems, which is simply it's just not the case.
I like that. Oh man, I'm learning a lot from this. Man, that's crazy though. But when you have like a cartel or a gang like manning the passageways of a drug trade, then what do you do? Because that is like their economic infrastructure is a gang.
Right.
So
it's a big drug route. Yeah, it's a big drug route, and you have to do something, because for the longest time, where my dad was from, San Pedro Sula was the murder capital of the world. Not including war-torn countries, but that's still not a very
that's not a great statistic.
Right, exactly. So hearing those things troubles me, because this is not some country in the Middle East or in Africa. Not to say that those are any less important.
Yeah.
But these are more personal for me.
Yeah. It's relative.
Right.
Yeah.
This is people who my family, my blood, living in these cities that have these issues. And you wonder, are they safe? Are they fine? Is this the day? Is that the day? And you have to live with that. And in the meantime, we're here living comfortably. And it's not about hating how I live. Love money, love the way I live, love coming to school here. It's not about hating how I live. It's just about appreciating what I have and trying to help those people who don't have what I have. And that's what drives me, and that's what drives my girlfriend.
Oh man, it's beautiful.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. That is wild. So, if you don't mind me asking, of course, how much family do you have there still?
I have my grandpa, my uncle, my aunt, all my cousins. I have a good amount of family there still. I still have a lot, both in Honduras and Nicaragua.
Yeah.
But Nicaragua isn't really, it's very poor, don't get me wrong, but it's not a drug route.
Yeah.
Nicaragua is much more safer. You see a lot of American families and Americans retiring in Nicaragua.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a relatively safe country, still with the problems of any other third world country. But it's not being brought down by unnecessary problems. Yeah, gotcha. I would say.
Gotcha. Okay. So you said you had a brother?
Yeah, I have a brother.
Is it just you two?
Yeah, it's just us.
Okay.
My mom said she was done after 2.
Okay.
And my dad always said he wanted 2 boys.
Oh, hey, he got them.
He got them. He got them. My brother and I just could not be more different. He doesn't like sports. I love sports. I always say he's much more intelligent than I am. He's much more intelligent. He's a bright kid. He has so much potential. He just has more trouble harnessing it.
Oh, gotcha.
I have conversations with him, and we talk about our grades and stuff like that. And I always tell him, you have way more potential and talent than me. I just outwork you. That's the difference.
Plain and simple.
I'm not as intelligent. I'm not some superstar academic, but I outwork everybody. And I will outwork everybody to compensate for my. I just don't have it naturally. It's just a thing that comes to me naturally. I struggle in school, to be honest with you.
So you got to make up. For it.
Maybe
work your ass off.
Somebody can study for 30 minutes and get an A on a test. I had to study for 3 hours to get an A on a test. And the one thing that I've always said is, you will not outwork me. I don't care how much talent you have, how
a great
intelligent
mindset.
you are. You're not going to outwork me. And if you do, I need to step my game up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that I approach not just school, but life in general. I'm not the biggest, strongest, smartest, fastest. But what I have is my work ethic, and that's the one thing I can control. I can control how many hours I put into the day, and you may you may beat me once or twice, but you're not gonna beat me every time.
Exactly. Oh man, I love that because I'm kind of the same way. I'm very highly competitive to a fault. Like it's hasn't cost me friendships yet, but it's gone there.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm the same way. I expect perfection.
Yes.
From myself and from my teams. It's to a fault. You're right. For me, especially. To a fault where I will lose sleep.
Yes.
Over something that
it bothers you.
It bothers me. I won't stop.
Yeah.
It can be something as simple as playing a game or watching football.
I hate it, man.
Yeah. It's just like, girlfriend's like, come to bed. I was like, I need to finish this.
Like, just give me my time.
Give me my time. Let me finish it. But, I think, and this goes to everything that I do, is I need to find perfection because I feel like I don't have it.
Yes.
I don't have perfection. So I strive for it. You'll never reach perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. But by golly, I'll strive for it. I'll fight and claw for it. And that just goes to everything, especially in football or sports.
Oh, God.
And Lord knows my team's far from being perfect. But it's the same way. I always feel that it's a reflection on me. And I demand perfection from my team, the New Orleans Saints, by the way.
Yes.
But it is to a fault. I've lost friends over perfection, over my competitiveness. I'm incredibly competitive. I've lost friends. I've pushed people away because of it, and I've tried to temper it because it can be damaging.
Sure.
It can be very damaging.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's something that I want to harness rather than do away with.
Yes. Because it's important.
Of course, it's very important. That if you don't have any competitiveness, then what's the point of living?
Yes.
You just have to. You have to strive for something. If that, for me, coming to A&M, I had a point to prove. And I said I'm going to graduate with a summa cum laude 3.9 or higher. Okay. And I ended up with a 3.88 graduating. And my girlfriend and my mom were last semester were high-fiving me and saying congratulations, and they said, what's wrong? And I was just like, I didn't do what I set out to do. That's not what I wanted. And I said, well, that's still good. And I was like, it's good, but it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So I have a new goal. Is 4.0 in graduate school.
Holy shit.
So it's a never-ending process for me, and it becomes taxing at times.
Of course,
it becomes. I'm sure it's not easy.
Yeah,
it's not easy, but I can't see myself doing it any other way.
Yeah,
I can't.
Good for you.
I can't live any other way.
Don't lose that.
Right. I try not to, although the girlfriend isn't too fond of it sometimes.
No, I mean, yeah, it's just more of just trying to balance.
Yeah.
There's balance to everything.
Yeah, of course.
No, I like that a lot. So your brother, he's also in school right now?
Yeah, U of H. He's having his troubles, but you know what? He's still grinding it. He's still grinding. The difference between my brother and I is that he doesn't have that do or die mentality. For the longest time, he has relied on that natural intelligence and talent. He kind of breezed through high school, breezed through community college, study for 5 minutes and get an A. And when he got to the university, he thought he could do the same thing. Well, that was a big shock that it didn't translate that way. And I told him, like, you're going to have to work. Yeah. And if you can ever put together your natural abilities with the work ethic, you're going to do something special. He's getting there. It's a tough process for him because it's tough to rewire somebody's thinking.
Oh, yeah. Well, how old is he?
He's 22.
He's 22?
Yeah, 22. So he's in there. He's old already. Yeah. So it's hard to rewire his thinking. But I always tell him, the minute you can put those two together, you're gonna be way ahead of me. I can try to outwork you as much as you want, but if you're able to put 2 and 2 together, I'll never be able to surpass you.
That's fact.
So that's just a fact, because my brother is he's an incredible student, an incredible person.
Mm-hmm.
He's just there's that part that's lacking, and I'm trying to help him find that. I'm trying to help him get to that point.
You're a good bro.
I appreciate it. I always needed a little brother.
Yeah.
Always needed a little brother. He keeps me grounded. He's more relaxed, more mellow.
Wow, you're okay. Awesome.
I'm the fire and brimstone kind of person. I know I don't seem like it in class, but it's a nice contrast. Yeah, it's a nice contrast, especially when we're playing together video games.
Oh, you're like describing me and my little brother, because same dynamic. He's in he's in high school right now, and he's a huge gamer, huge online gamer. Like, this is his laptop. And, oh, my God, man. Me and him go back and forth. And he's the most mellow kid you'd ever meet. You like him a lot. But he just doesn't have that drive. But he is smart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same feeling.
Yeah, I feel you.
It's the same. And it's a little frustrating because I see that ability. Mm-hmm. I see that talent. And I was like, little brother, you have it. You have something that's special. And it's a God-given talent. But you're just not you're wasting it because you're not putting the second piece together. Yeah. It's a 2-part street. You have to be able to use both parts of this talent. And it just didn't click for him. Mm-hmm. It's just not clicking. I think it's been so easy for him. School, well, at least I see it as that. Mm-hmm. It's just been so easy for him that it's just the way he works. But I think that first semester at U of H kind of woke him up. Shook him. Mm-hmm. It woke him up. Has he put it all together yet? Not yet. But I am seeing improvement in that and in his way of thinking. So I really hope for my brother that he puts it together, because he's one of those people that we need to get it together. He's one of those people that we need to get it, because he's somebody that he puts it together. He's going to do something really special. And I really hope for my brother. Yeah.
What is he going into?
Well, originally he said biotechnology,
which
is something I can't even think of. Comprehensive, but he said that he wants to help people. Mm-hmm. He wants to help people, and he doesn't know what. He doesn't want to do biotech anymore. He just says he wants to help. And I said, well, there's a lot of ways you can help people. Yeah. You just pick what you think you're good at, but don't get into something you don't love. For sure. And he said he didn't love biotech. And I said, well, that's your first problem, And he asked me, well, do you like what you're doing? I was like, oh, I love it. I love getting up, going to class, minus the grading.
Yeah, oh, God.
Minus the grading. But I love what I do, and I love the future, what the future holds for me. And that's just another piece. It's a whole puzzle about what keeps me going, and it's the hope of what I will be in 40 years. It's something that I can't foresee myself doing anything else. And I've been told by Dr. Clark and other professors that if you really want to get a PhD and teach at a university level, you can't see yourself doing anything else, because you'll fail. You have to be full in. You have to be 100% committed to this career and into the academic life. And I can honestly say that I am. Okay. And
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, I'm 100% committed to it. You have to be a little off to do it. But I can't see myself doing anything else.
Okay. So, I mean, has this always been the focus? Have you went to different routes and you're like, and it kind of led up to this?
Yeah. I've changed my major so many times I lost count.
Okay.
I lost count, and I wanted to be a petroleum engineer, a neurologist, an economist. No goodness, a bunch of nonsense. But then I took a creative writing class in my community college, and my professor was like, "This is incredible." And I didn't think.
You just wrote a paper.
And she was like, "This is incredible." And then I wrote another, and she's just like, "You have a real talent for this." And I was like,
"Thank you.
I like this. I like this. Thank you." So then I went to A&M. I applied as an English major, much to the surprise of most of my family members. To their credit, my family's incredibly supportive. My parents are just so supportive. And they were just like, it's not what we had in mind, but you know what? We support you. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I still didn't know what I wanted to do with English.
But you're just like, hey, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
My first semester, I knocked it out of the ballpark. I was like, I'm good at this. Two 4.0 semesters later, I was like, okay. This is meant to be. I'm not doing this good just because I'm getting lucky.
Yeah.
And then really a lot of this, why I got into teaching, has to do with my mentor back in Houston, Dr. Dorothy Muhammad. Mm-hmm. She was a vital individual of me getting back into my mindset. When she met me, I was very lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had took a semester off from school after high school because I didn't get into the school I wanted to, LSU. Mm-hmm. So
call him out.
Yeah, call him out. So she didn't let me feel sorry for myself. Mm-hmm. She got me back on track, and she whipped me up into the man you see right now, along with my parents. So she played a big role in this. And then when another professor, Dr. Anderson, she asked me if I would guest lecture, just, cause. And she said, can you talk about thesis statements? And I was like, well, I had never thought about it, but sure, why not? So I ended up doing it, and I left the class, and I was like, that was fun. Uh-huh. That was fun. And she told me, you have a natural talent. You control the classroom. You have a natural control of the classroom. People are paying attention to you. Like you're good at this. Uh-huh. And that's really when the ball started getting rolling on that. And then when I got to graduate school, Dr. Clark, to his credit, said, why don't we look at the syllabus, and why don't you pick out the dates that you think you really want to lecture? Okay. And he picked Krev Kerr for me. But then Poe, which I just did yesterday.
Yeah, it was great, man.
I appreciate that.
Great job.
I appreciate it. I try. And then Nathaniel Hawthorne is the next one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the next one. But the way I go into my lectures is I practice with Courtney, the girlfriend, and I kind of, this is going to sound a little weird, but I kind of wing it when I go into class. I feel more stressed out when I plan something and have a guideline and I have to read off something because I feel like I'm not going to finish, or I'm going to finish too early, or I'm not going to finish.
Or you forgot something.
Or I forgot something. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I read the material as best I can. I look up, research what I'm going to do, and I just get it in my head, get a good night's sleep, go to class like I normally do. And then when I get up there, I just start talking. And it all floods back into my head. Yeah. And that's really where I get it. And at first people were like, well, you wing a lecture. And I was like, I just don't feel like I could do it any other way. Yeah. I think I can get my point. It feels more natural when I do it my way, and it feels more authentic when I do it my way.
Oh, no, yeah. There's no stumble. There's no... Yeah. It's very, very smooth.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So, and then, my dad always says, how can you talk in front of 125 people?
Yeah, it's not easy.
He said it's not easy.
You got everyone staring at you.
But, that's really never been a problem for me. I've never had a problem talking in front of a group of people. I don't view 125 individuals. I just see one entity. Yeah. When you're talking, you're in the zone. You have tunnel vision. Yeah. I'm looking in the crowd, but really I'm just seeing one group rather than 125 individuals. So that's really how I get through the whole, stage fright. I don't really get nervous. I'm focusing more on presenting the material and ensuring that people are learning rather than focusing on this face or that face or that. My hope is that I'm able to make the material stimulating and interesting for the students. That way they can build a connection to not just, I don't want them to build a connection to the teacher. I want them to build a connection to the text, to the material. Mm-hmm. That way, later on in life, they can remember, well, I really like this book based on what he said. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily who the person was, but how it was interpreted, and how it was portrayed to us. So that's really how I do that.
Hey man, no, you do a good job, and it's definitely not an easy thing to do. A lot of people would rather die than speak in front of a lot of people. So no, man, I know, and I personally appreciate it because with Dr. Clark, he's been doing it for 40 years.
Yes.
And coming into this, do do you really like the material? Like the one you did, the two of them that you did yesterday, were those like some of your favorites, or just happen to be some?
Well, Poe has always been one of my favorite authors.
Okay.
I love Poe. I have a whole complete work.
Really?
Yes. I have a very big, I should have brought it, but I have a very big text with all his short stories, all his poems.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I told him I love Poe, would it be okay if I do something? And he said, of course.
Uh-huh.
He's so supportive. He said, pick one or two and we'll roll with it. And I said, well, it's Halloween coming up. And so why don't I pick the Telltale Heart?
The most gruesome.
The most gruesome and the Black Cat.
Yeah.
And rather than go about it the typical route, I want to take it another way. Mm-hmm. And I talked about this before during lecture about how typically when you're younger or when you read it when you're young earlier, you have this pretty much straightforward interpretation of the Telltale Heart and the Black Cat. But when I got older and I started reading it more often, I got this more psychological horror aspect from it. And it became more evident when I started watching movies about psychological horror. The Shining, The Exorcist, which is the worst.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Those things that play with your head,
mm-hmm.
Especially things that could be true or are true. Those are bad. So when I started read the text again the night before lecture, I was I'm going to take this another route. It's probably been talked about before, but I want to focus more on the psychological and mental illness aspect of these stories and be able to connect them. And that'll be more frightening than just a straightforward murderer.
Yeah.
Because when not to belittle anything, but when somebody murders an individual and they're competent, it's pretty straightforward. You had a reason for it.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a story like Telltale Heart, an individual who is aware of his disease, who is aware of his problems
the whole time, and you just see this progression, this deterioration of his mind and his sanity. Yeah, there's something frightening about an individual who is just not all there. Yeah, and it's something sympathetic about that, about somebody who's aware of his problems, but he just never got the help. Yeah. And that's something sympathetic. That's why I asked the question in class. Who do you feel more
sympathetic for? And I thought at first it was going to be the narrator from the Black Cat because, he has the wife, his family, the cat. I thought, okay, that's sad, his family being destroyed. Mm-hmm. But when people said the Telltale Heart narrator, and their reasons were incredible because it's the same reasons that I thought. Here we have an individual who we don't have much information on, and we can tell it's almost a cry for help on his part, trying to justify his actions, trying to justify his crime. And he's great in telling us how he is deteriorating. He's able to reduce the old man, take away his humanity to commit murder. There's something sad about that individual who is going through these things. And I think it was important to highlight mental illness, especially, it's Halloween. Yeah. Scare the class a little bit. So, we, girlfriend and I just saw a movie yesterday, psychological.
Which horror. One was it?
It was The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Okay. The first one.
The first one was the worst.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's the best, worst, yeah. So scary. But it just plays into this whole mindset of something that's real, something that could be real is scary.
Always. And The Conjuring is like, this happened.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't too long ago. It was, the 70s?
It was... Yeah, the 70s when it happened.
Something like that.
And just having an experience with the supernatural is just something that's just something off about it. Yeah. And the house that I used to live in was just, I didn't like it.
Why so?
So, and people, whoever listens to this, grab your, whatever you need to grab. But I was I was young when this happened. Mm-hmm. Just from the minute I got there, it just felt something was watching me. Something was off about that house. And I slept in the first room when you go into the hallway, the first room on the right. Well, it was there was this long, horrific hallway.
Was it a like a second story, one story?
It was a one story.
One story.
But for some reason, the hallway was just agonizingly long.
Yeah, okay.
And I would never want to, when I closed the door at night, I would never leave because I didn't want to open the door and look and there was something at the edge of the hallway. So I never left. I never left.
God, okay.
I never left. But to the credit, I was scared of it, but I never felt like it was something evil.
Yeah.
Never felt that. Well, this quickly changed one night. I think my parents were out with some family members, and I was taking care of my brother. My brother was already asleep, and I slept with flashlights when I had my worst times, when I was really scared. But I never felt threatened or anything like that. But I slept with 2 flashlights to the side of me, each one of them.
Yeah.
Well, that night it was different. There was something different about the vibe in that room.
Yeah.
I just felt like this is not right. Something feels bad in here. This doesn't feel like scary. This is terror.
Yeah.
This is fear. It felt evil in that room. It felt evil. So I had 2 lights on one to each side of me. Just like that. So yeah.
Now, were they on the bed or below the bed?
They were on the bed.
On the bed,
they were on the bed, shining forward and laying down with one on each side, facing forward. And I was terrified that night, so I wanted to sleep. Well, something woke me up. I don't know what it was. It was probably a nightmare. And I woke up and I was petrified with fear. The room was completely dark, and I was like, "Where are my lights?
Yeah, what's going on?
What's going on?" So I'm trying to turn on the light. Light's busted. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I look to the side, and my flashlights are on the east side of the bed. Now, normally you would think, okay, they fell, no big deal. But the disturbing part is that each flashlight was pointing still the way it was on the bed.
They were just off?
They were just off. So I had them on the bed and facing forward. They were on the floor facing forward. And typically when they fall, they're going to fall in different directions, stuff like that. So when they fell and I saw that they were off and I couldn't turn on the light, and that the feeling in that room went from bad to worse. It went from something bad to something really evil. And I tell, when I put to the story, I didn't see any shadows, I didn't hear any voices, I didn't see any of that stuff. I didn't need to.
That's all that needed to happen.
I didn't need to. This felt like something evil and something telling me your lights aren't gonna stop me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. And I'm a religious person, so I always say, when I tell a story, it was probably the devil saying, I can see you. Your lights aren't going to stop me.
Yeah,
and it was more of a message.
Okay.
It was more of a message to say, that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop me.
Like, oh, that's cute.
That's cute. Those lights are adorable. And I don't think it was anything to possess or oppress me or anything like that. I didn't feel that at all. It was more of a, let's play a game.
Yeah.
Let's play around. Let's play around. And that's something that, just goosebumps right now, because it's something that I just can't explain, and it's so personal because it knew that I didn't like the dark.
Yeah. And
it went after that. It went after my sources of light. Just so happened that the light on the fan was broken that night. There's something disturbing about an entity that goes after your fear and knows it and takes away your source of relief.
Yeah, like you didn't, maybe you go to bed and pray 5 times, or you pray for 5 minutes, or maybe you do some like OCD thing to get your mind off something because you're like, yeah, that's my routine. Right. Your routine was 2 lights.
2 lights. And it never happened again. I always felt the typical, there's something in this house, but I never felt the evil feeling that I felt in that room that one night. haven't felt it since ever in Houston or New Orleans or wherever the heck I've been. It was just that one night. For some reason, some evil decided to. It's like let's play with him, you know. And there's something disturbing about that.
Yeah, he just kind of like wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Right. You know, I always tell people you can't believe in God without believing in the devil, because there is no good without evil. Mm-hmm. And I think evil obviously preys on fear. And I was very fearful that night, just from my typical fear. But it ramped up to another level that I was very uncomfortable with. And I don't like movies about possession or stuff like that. You know, there's something about that that's very disturbing about real life events. But, you know, being able to have something go after what you feel like is your safety, you know, or your way to escape fear. There's something disturbing about that. I don't like it.
I'm just trying to imagine to be in that moment. Turn off the light, your lights are off, and just completely petrified. Yeah. Like, was it cold? Was it?
It was cold. It was cold, and the room was darker. You know, it was. I can't explain it. It was darker than dark.
Yeah. It was,
like, typically when I was in my room, it's dark, turn the lights off. It's dark, but, you know, you could still make out something. Yeah. It felt like I was more in a mass of darkness than I was just in a dark room.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like complete, utter darkness. And the feeling in there was you can't get out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I see you. Oh, I'm in his world.
Yeah.
I'm in its world, you know.
Yeah.
For a minute, this lasted, I don't think, more than a few minutes, honestly. But that was enough for me. That was enough for me.
And clearly it was enough for you.
Right.
Like,
if that's
you still remember it.
Yeah. If that's a taste of hell, that's enough for me. You know, because, and just my experience just makes me look at other people who go through worse, you know, people who are demonically possessed or having an oppression or an infestation in their house. It just makes me seem like, man, that could have been me. You know, I just got a taste of evil.
Yeah.
Some people are getting the full brunt.
Yeah.
Of it, and I don't ever want to get close to that again.
See, okay, like I appreciate you bringing that back up again, because it's like one of the coolest stories ever. But now on the topic of like demonic possession, I'm not religious at all.
Yeah.
Like at all, but I do believe in like a person's spirit.
Yeah.
And in demonic possession, it's like the demon like claiming the soul.
Yeah.
Someone, they're trying to bargain with the soul. They're trying to get their soul back. And like, was it The Conjuring where I think the scene is where someone is like putting up sheets, and then the sheet flies, hits the window, and then you see it.
Yeah.
And then
that's The Conjuring.
Yeah. Okay. And then shortly after, it like claims her.
Yeah.
So, and I think the most frightening part is that not only is it real, but I think you and I talked about this, how they can mimic.
Yeah.
Like they can mimic like other people, like men or women. It doesn't matter what they are.
Right.
And what was the other thing? Tongues, speaking in tongues and stuff.
That's the worst. That's the worst. You know, and I don't profess to be an expert on this kind of stuff.
No.
I just know what I know from reading and from watching.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to demonic possession, I think we discussed it before, but there's 3 stages of it. There's what is it? Contact or poltergeist activity. Uh-huh. You see things move. I'm sorry. It's infestation. Infestation is step 1. Yeah. Infestation is step 1. This is where you see shadows, you see things move, see things out of the corner of your eye. That's infestation. Oppression is when you start to see these things happening to yourself.
Okay.
You start to see, the bodily effects from this. Possession is where the demon has entered your soul, entered your body, and is trying to control you. And we must remember that demons are not something human. This is something that's never been human.
Yeah.
It's never had a human form. It doesn't know happiness. It doesn't know love. It doesn't know anything positive. This is something that feeds off fear and hate.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, it's like going to war with a demon. That's why an exorcism is so dangerous, because it's a battle for the person's soul. You have an entity who is so hateful and feeds on fear, and then you have the polar opposite, goodness, love, Christ, and it's like a tug of war. And sometimes, unfortunately, that tug of war is too much for the person who is possessed. And there have been people that died because of possession, because of an exorcism. It's just too much strain on the body. And it's a quote from the Conjuring that I heard that really rings to this day.
What's up?
This is a battle for their soul. It stopped being a human thing a long time ago. When you're in an exorcism, it stops being anything that
who the person was, or you can't view it as anything on the physical level or the human level. You have to look at it spiritually and as a supernatural thing. This stops being medicine can fix. You can't look at it that way. This is a spiritual battle, and there is a winner. There is a winner, and unfortunately, it's not always the good that wins. That's just the nature of the beast. But this the only way you can get a demon is once a demon has possessed you. The only way for you to be free is through an exorcism. So it's a very archaic ritual, but it's the only chance people who have been demonically possessed have. It's just a battle for their soul. And that's just me, somebody who just watched TV and did a little research. But this is serious stuff. Yeah,
it's very serious stuff. And people were like, I need to see it to believe it.
Right? They're like, oh yeah, ghosts aren't real. It's like, well, okay. I mean, maybe not ghosts, but I still feel like the spiritual realm is something not to be messed with. Because
because it's like, maybe you don't believe in the devil, but he believes in you. And I got that from another movie, Constantine.
Okay.
So he said, I don't believe in the devil. Well, the devil believes in you, and he's aware of you. And the devil, and I think we talked about this before in the movie The Devil's Advocate. That was Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. And Al Pacino is the devil. And what he said was something that I find very, very intriguing, is that the devil, he's like, I never make people do anything. I never force somebody to kill somebody. I give them an option. I give them a choice. It's not my fault that somebody chooses that. I'm just showing them a different path. And that was something worse. Something where if somebody, if you say the devil possessed somebody and told somebody to kill somebody, that's one thing altogether. But the fact that he said that I am this entity and I'm not making you do anything, I'm just getting it in your head that you have another option. Walk away or kill the person. Yeah, you could do it. I'm not going to poke you and make you do something. I'm just showing you a different way of handling this. So that's something disturbing about that. Something very disturbing about that way. The devil interpretation by Al Pacino was incredible.
I wanted to watch it, I just haven't had time.
Time is very short nowadays. But I highly recommend that.
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate. Very good movie. And it'll make you think.
Oh, yeah, man. No, I'm like the one paper that I started that I'll probably get to you in like a week or two, so you can look over it, and then I might have Clark look over it too. talking about sinners of an angry God.
Yeah.
And that hit me hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I sent it to one of my buddies, and I think me and him are gonna have like a dialogue about it, just to see what our different ideas, because him and I go back and forth on like religious topics. And sinners of an angry God, it was just showing how kind of emphasize God's wrath, just like how truly powerful this being is, this entity, whatever you believe in, and how minuscule you really are.
Right.
So,
I think, and we talked about this before, but what people forget is that the intention for God is to turn away from sin. You know, a lot of people think, you know, even Christians, that I can sin today, not sin for 2 days, and then sin again, and I'll be fine. I'll be okay.
This is a broad statement.
Yeah. But, you know, the definition by Jesus is turn away from sin completely, and you will be saved. And I think the one thing about Jonathan Edwards that people don't like is that they don't like God being portrayed in an angry way.
Yes.
But I think that it's important to do that, because a God that has this expectation for his people who were created in his image, there is such thing as being disappointed. You know, the metaphor people say, you know, we're God's children. Well, children misbehave, you know,
all the time.
All the time. So it's natural for the parents to get angry, spank, you know. Discipline. So this is what God is saying, you know, in that. It bothers people, especially with the New Testament. You know, God is more of a what is it? I confuse the terms. A deist, an impersonal God. A hands-off kind of God, which is what we have now. But I think it's important to realize that, you know, those people who don't turn away from sin, and those people who continuously commit, and I'm not saying stealing or, you know, something minor like that. I'm talking about like bad stuff. Those people incur the wrath of God. Yeah. You know, those people see the full fury of God. And I think it's foolish to think that God can only be forgiving and merciful. He is, without a doubt. I wouldn't be able to live my life if there was no mercy or forgiveness. But I'm aware that there is a part of God that gets angry and gets frustrated with his children. And I'm fully aware of that. I feel like, you know, I've done bad stuff and I've been punished for it, and it's its own way, you know. I didn't burn, but there was something he did that made me see my error of my ways. So if you want to have that comparison between children and kids, a parent and child, you have to have both aspects of it. You have to have the disciplinarian, but you also have to have the caring parent. And I think with Jonathan Edwards, it gives us the side of God that it's not popular nowadays. Because there is so much bad, and there is that interpretation of God is going to forgive everything. It's like, well, no. He's going to punish you. You know, he's going to punish you if you do something really bad. So, to be, for me, and I always saw myself a revolutionary Catholic, because I'm a Catholic, but I don't follow the typical Catholic beliefs. I like to be very open-minded about my religious beliefs. This is why I don't have a problem. You know, I learn about Islam or Judaism and Buddhist, because I feel comfortable in my own religion. I'm not going to change religion, so I'm going to learn about others, see what other people believe. And I can't live with the belief that some Christians and Catholics have, that somebody who studies Islam or practices Islam or Buddhism is going to burn for the sake of, you know, or an atheist is going to burn because they didn't believe. Well, that's not the picture that I have of God. You know, that's not the merciful God. You know, so that picture of, if you don't turn to our religion, you're going to burn, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think the way I view it, God has for each people their own way of viewing him. And I think that's sufficient. You know, even atheists, I think in themselves, there's some sort of belief. You know, some kind of belief. Maybe not the typical, you know, what a Catholic or a Muslim believes, but there is something there.
Yeah.
You know, there is something there. And I think that that's more of it's not a one-size-fits-all for religion.
Yeah.
It's very
and
complicated.
it never is.
Never will be.
Yeah.
But I think that something that's important to realize is that we all come from, people forget that we're all very different. People forget that.
Yeah.
So you're trying to put a belief on the individual who's thousands of miles away. You know, they grew up differently. They're taught differently. You know, a God that burns people for not believing everything to the book is not a God that I view as a God.
Yeah.
You know, he's not the complete parent. The God that I see is merciful but disciplinarian. He forgives but he punishes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's there to talk. You know, my mom is very religious, and she instilled this in me since I was young, about the importance of prayer and that how God can hear you, and you know, I'll do it from time to time. But I think that goes more into the whole, I don't have to go to church to communicate with God. Mm-hmm. You know, there's some people who you have to go to church every Sunday, or else you're not getting the word. And I was like, well, I think an all-powerful God can hear my prayers, and you know, we can communicate and we can have those conversations without me being
in your own way.
In my own way, you know, and I like that better. Mm-hmm. I can have more personal conversations with God on my time, and I would like to think that He appreciates that. I always tell Courtney that. And I feel like God has a sense of humor, or else He wouldn't have created me.
That's the best way to look at it, though.
And you know, we have these conversations about what's heaven going to be like and all that, and I was like, well, He has to have a sense of humor because I have one. You know, and I'm not. I'd be that angel up there making jokes and cracking jokes all the time, and he'd just be like the parent, like, oh, okay. You know? But you know, I have to feel that way because. Yeah. You know, I can't imagine heaven as everybody's got to be strict and follow the rules.
Yeah, like I don't know how literal you have to be with something like the Bible. How, you know, the complete contrast of the New and Old Testament. Yeah. Like how.
Yeah, big difference. You know, I tell people. The Old Testament is probably the most violent thing you'll
stoning people, burning people with stakes. Like,
oh, it's bad. It's very bad. So. But, you know, the view I have of heaven is it's what you make of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's what you make of it. It's what you think heaven is for you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what heaven is. Just like we talked what hell is.
Yeah.
You know, what hell is.
I was like, oh, my God, I totally forgot we talked about that.
Hell, for me, is you're stuck behind a glass wall. Mm-hmm. And you see your life played out without you involved in it. And nobody misses you. Nobody knows you're gone. You know,
it's like you were never even there.
Your girlfriend is married to another man. Your kids are with the other guy. You know, that's hell. If the definition of hell is eternal suffering, what is more than seeing that play over and over and over? What's more torturous than that? You know, being burned and ripped apart. That's okay, fine. Sure, that's painful, but that doesn't scream eternal suffering. Eternal suffering has to be something more
psychological,
something painful. What's more painful than seeing your life play out without you, and not just that, but somebody else in it and doing it better. You know, doing it better. That's worse. That's hell for me, and that's something that I just can't. You know, that's eternal damnation. If I ever saw it.
No, I remember the first time you told me that interpretation. I was like, wow, I like that a lot, and I feel like that I can identify with that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like the stereotypical hell, it's like, you're getting burned alive for eternity, and you're doing the devil's work for, you know, eternity. But there's nothing more hurtful nothing more emotional, nothing more psychological than having to live through that for eternity.
Oh, without a doubt. And, even the interpretation of the devil, a lot of people, the horns, the scary guy. And I think that's not really scary to me. What's scary is the devil. What I view the devil is your average individual, a pretty woman, a handsome guy, one of us, looks one of us. That's more alluring than a scare. You're going to run away from a horned monster.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, no.
Yeah, you're going to know.
It's appalling. Like, oh.
But something about an entity that can replicate, we talked about this before. Yeah. Demons can replicate the innocent, a baby crying, a little girl.
Oh my, yeah.
And they prey on and they mock the Trinity. You see a lot of these things happening at 3 a.m.
Oh my, yes.
Mocking the Holy Trinity, the 3 knocks. I'm not going to do it, but...
Yeah, right? Oh,
I'm not going to do it, but the 3 knocks mocking the Holy Trinity. So the way I view the devil is, somebody who is appealing, and they bring you to him or her, and they begin to twist your mind, without direct contact, because before I said the devil is hands off, just like God now. It's hands off. But you can't be influenced by the devil impersonally if you're running away from him. Yeah. He has to have some way to get to you. So that's the way I like to look at him and hell. That's scarier than the horn and fire.
Yeah.
Because the horn and fire, nowadays, and there's so much of that in movies, and it doesn't scare anybody. Yeah. But the way you break somebody is you get down to the psychological moment. Same thing with heaven. The eternal happiness is living the life you wanted. Mm-hmm. Those people who lose children, those people who, stillborns, miscarriages, and stuff like that, those people, I have a firm belief that they get the opportunity to raise that child in heaven. Yeah. They get to do what they didn't get to do on earth. Mm-hmm. That's heaven. That's eternal happiness. You're at peace. That's paradise. You get to do what you weren't able to do on earth. Yeah.
And it's like, it's not kidding yourself. It's what you want.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that plays into the whole, what we discussed, what you make heaven. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What you make heaven. Heaven may be for somebody sitting on the couch watching TV. Yeah. That's fine. If you're on your way to heaven, that's fine. Yeah. For me, heaven is being around family, being around my loved ones, being around my family. I don't know if there's beer in heaven, but cracking open in my heaven, cracking open a cold one, just talking with my parents, talking with my family, future kids, wife, and just enjoying each other's company. I don't see it any other way, because I don't want to be separated from my family in the afterlife. Then what's the purpose of the afterlife? I don't want to be alone. Yeah. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my loved ones who in the past died. Yeah. Those I never got to. My grandmother, my dad's mom. Yeah. And I go to another topic where, something that people ask a lot. Courtney asked me this, is how are we going to view our loved ones? And I was like, I think you're going to view them the way you want them to view. Yeah. You're going to remember your parents in heaven how you want to remember them, and then they're going to do that with us, and then they're going to do that with their parents. Because I think it goes back to the not one size fits all. You just can't do it as, well, everybody's young, everybody's old, because if everybody's young, I never met my teenage dad.
Yeah.
So I think it's the way that I view it is I want it to be where I can remember my parents when they were at their best, when I remember them. And I think that goes both ways for my parents too.
Oh, I love that interpretation of heaven, of what heaven can be. And is what you make of it, right? Because that's what you're supposed to, not what you're supposed to do in life, but a good portion of life. Do what you want, and what you make of certain things. Like some people complain of like, oh, this stuff is happening. It's like, well, you can have a different mindset, right? Maybe clear a little bit of headspace and
right, and
do what you make of it.
It really is. It's so important to have these beliefs, for me personally, because I can't go through life with this is it. I can't live life with saying this life is it. Once I die, I go into the ground and that's a wrap.
Oh, yeah.
I can't live life like that, because then what was the purpose?
Yeah.
What was my purpose? What did I just live it and then I die?
Yeah.
I have to have that belief that there is something waiting on the other side, wherever that is, that, I did good in the world and I earned my way in heaven, and then when the gates open or however it is, I have my family waiting for me there. And I just can't see how I could live it any other way, because if this is just it, why keep going?
Yeah,
what's the purpose?
I went through all this work, made all these relationships
for what?
Pay bills.
If I'm just gonna burn, if just gonna rot in the ground. If this is it, why keep going?
Yeah,
you're done. You're done when you reach. You're done when you reach 90. So all of the money you made, all the friendships you had, the loved ones you've loved, you're all gonna forget that. So then, what was your purpose of living in the first place? I can't live life like that.
Yeah.
It's contrary to what I believe.
Yeah.
And maybe it might be the same for everybody. And I'm not trying to put that on anybody else.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I can't live my life thinking that this is just it.
Yeah.
It would be too much to bear for me.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Man, to put that on your conscience. No, but it's stuff to think about, and I kind of want to play into what you're talking about, being around your family, being around your loved ones, and because I would like to move north. I have a lot of family here in Texas, Mexico, and California, and a little bit in Illinois, but I've got a good taste of Texas. And I think it's time to, kind of go somewhere else. But I have a lot of friends here. Got a lot of things to do. And it's hard to, move on to somewhere else not knowing anyone. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. When you're done with your, because right now, are you still doing your, schooling?
Yeah, master's.
Yeah.
2 years. So
you got 2 more years?
2 more years here, yeah.
And then
I got my PhD.
Okay.
I got to do 4 more years, but I can do that in any school in the country.
Okay. So are you going to stay here, or do you want to go somewhere else?
That's something that's been playing on my mind, just like you, for a very long time, because I want to experience something new.
Yeah.
I want to see snow. I don't want to sweat in December.
Yeah, man.
I want to experience the world and the fruits of the world.
Yeah.
On the same token, it would be hard.
Yeah.
Because I'm leaving my family here, and we have been so close. We struggled when I was growing up, but we had each other. Even through the hard times, we laughed it off. We laughed. So it would be very difficult. But I think the way that I would answer that is say that there needs to come a time where your family, the one you grew up with, will understand your new family and the necessities that you need before you create your own new family. Yeah. And for me, I need to experience more before I settle down or before I do anything like that. Yeah. Before I have kids, I want to have said that I love New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I love New Hampshire and Vermont and that whole New England area. I love that area. I want to say that I did something that I really wanted to do before, maybe I end up coming to Texas. I may come back, maybe so. But I want to be able to say I did it, and maybe it wasn't for me, and just make that informed decision. Yeah. Rather than live my life, I wish I would have moved there at least.
Yeah. Well, I could have done it.
Yeah, I could have done it, but I didn't want to do it then and there. I just want, there's more.
Yeah.
There's more than Texas. There's more than the South. I've never been north of Dallas.
What?
I've never been north of Dallas.
Really?
That's as far north as I've ever been.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I can, I've seen snow and not snow.
Yeah.
So I want to experience, something that is magical to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure I'd be the one person in the north like making snow angels in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Everybody's like
what is this
guy doing?
Yeah.
You know, but there's something magical about snow and that wintry, you know, scene. You have that scene in your head during Christmas time. The snow's falling, there's a fireplace.
Yeah.
I have that scene and I want to experience that.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's just for a year. I want to be able to say that I got to live what I wanted to do. And that I got to see what I wanted to see. And if that path leads me to stay there, then you know what? I'll just have to move my parents up there. But on the same token, if it just doesn't work out and I move back to Texas and I live happily ever after in Texas, then you know what? At least I could say I got to see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
But I don't want to live with regret.
Oh, of course. And man, we're young.
Yes.
Man, we got a while to go.
Oh God, yes. You know, and people always said, you know, well, you're really young. You know, you've been dating your girlfriend for 4 years, and I was like,
really?
Yes, 4 years.
Hey man, good for you.
Appreciate it. And so we've been dating for 4 years, and we always say we want to travel. We want to travel. We want to do this. We want to do that. Yeah. And people were like, well, you've been dating her for a long time. You know, you're kind of young. And I was like, well, I like a companion.
Yeah.
You know, I like a companion. She's more than that, obviously, but you know, she's
like your best friend.
Oh, she's my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't like sports, which it's okay.
Yeah, it's compromise.
Yeah, compromise. But you know, she's my best friend, and I wouldn't want to be in New Hampshire without her. I wouldn't want to be in New York or Madrid or Barcelona, wherever the heck I end up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be there without her, just because I would feel incomplete.
Yeah.
I'd feel weird, like this is fun, but
wish you were here.
Wish you were here, you know. So we make these decisions, the both of us. She, to her credit, she's very, very selfless. Mm-hmm. She's a very selfless person. She said, "We're gonna go where your PhD needs to happen." You know?
Wow.
Well, I'll finish school and I'll work wherever we end up. I'll let you decide, because it's harder for you to get a PhD and it's hard for you to find a job as a professor. The job market's not very good. Mm-hmm. So she's like, well, you decide where we live. You know, it's very selfless, because
I was like, phew, that's a lot.
You know, you're hinging your future on me, which puts pressure on me, I feel.
It's like, no, I want you to be happy.
Right, I want you to be happy too. Yeah. But she said, well, number one, you're going to be making more money. You know, so it's important. But number two, I feel like she said that where you end up, I want to be there. You know, whether that's in Florida or wherever. She's like, I'll be happy either way. You know, just don't pick Alaska.
Like, what? We get paid.
Yeah, we get paid. You know, I'd take Alaska, but there's something important about having that companion.
Oh, of course.
And it's not for everybody. I'm not trying to berate people who don't have girlfriends or boyfriends.
This is your experience.
Right. But for me, I think she's been critical in keeping me grounded, and keeping me honest. You know, and letting
That's
me.
That's good. She checks you.
Yeah, she checks me every time.
Yeah,
every time. I can't BS her.
Yeah.
But also letting me dream.
Yeah.
You know, letting me live the dreams.
Supports.
Yeah, she's incredibly supportive. Letting me dream about what I want to keep doing, what I want to do in the future. You know, to her credit, I always say you have to be a little crazy to date me. You know, because I'm very competitive. I'm motivated, but you know what? She's right there, treading along. You know, and sometimes I'm waist deep or neck deep in mud. Yeah. And she's right there. And she's very little. She's very tiny. She's like 5'1", 5 feet. But yet she's trying to yank me out. You, she's trying to yank me out of the mud that I got myself in. Yeah. You know. So it's very important for me to have her, and I really wouldn't want to be anywhere else without her.
Dude, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, she'll love that. I don't say it often enough, but I think it's important that she knows.
Oh, that's good, man. Did y'all meet I guess in college?
Yeah, Houston Community College. This is where I was getting my first start, I guess, in college. And I had just made the turn from being a horrible student and a failure to let's get this ship righted.
Yeah.
So I had just righted the ship, going forward, and then I meet this girl. And I was like, shoot.
Like, come on, man.
Damn. So I meet her, and I was a nervous wreck. And I introduced myself. I'm sure I made a total fool of myself. But then, you know what? We kicked it off really well. We were really great friends for a long time. Long time. But, you know, I know she's going to hate me for saying this, but she friend-zoned me twice.
Hey, man.
You know,
you're competitive.
You know, I don't appreciate that. But, you know, like everything else in life, is like, I'm going to keep going at this. You know, I'm going to keep going. Well, honestly, I would say this is the one time where I didn't keep it up. After the second time, I said, okay, that's it. You know, I give up. And in fact, she's the one who came around. You know, she's the one. I had started like, okay, I'll move on. You know, she's obviously not interested. And she started pursuing me, and she swept me off my feet.
Hey.
And she asked me out.
What?
Yeah, she asked me out. And I was like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's what you get for
I mean, you could have had this a while ago.
We would have been way ahead of the game. So, you know, that's fine. But to her credit, you know, she said that she did a lot of thinking, you know, and she said, well, she said, I would never date someone who loves football. I love football.
Oh, come on. You can't live by that stuff.
Yeah. Never date somebody who loves football. Just these basic things. And she said, well, let's give it a shot. And hopefully it's
so far so good.
So far so good. You know, like any other couple, bumps in the road.
Oh, of course. Of course.
But I think the important thing is that we've been able to work at it.
Yeah.
You know, everywhere to work.
Oh, it's important. Y'all have grown with it.
Oh yeah, we keep growing, and I think for us, we've always said that we're not like any other couple in that we've had a lot of challenges, both personally for her. She's had a lot of struggles in her childhood and now, and we both lost our house in Hurricane Harvey.
Wow.
So
man, I'm sorry to hear about that.
No, it's fine. The house is almost rebuilt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, that's good to hear.
I'm going back for my birthday when the house is finished.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
November 6th, but I'm going the weekend of the 4th and the 5th, and that's when my parents said the house will be finished.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was what better birthday present than that?
Yeah.
But we both lost our house, and, you know, she said she wanted to go back, but I told her, just stay here. I know it's going to affect you. So I went back to Katie, probably about a week after the house, 2 weeks after the house had flooded. And I turned into the neighborhood, and it's just very emotional. You know, you see these monster piles of people's lives on their front yard. Yeah. And I just started getting very sad because I'm not seeing any house that's spared. Every single house has a pile in the front yard. So I'm saying, what are the chances that we got spared? So we live at the very back of the neighborhood, so I'm having to go through the whole neighborhood, seeing all these people's lives in the front lawn, you know, these people throwing away everything, family memories, and then I turn onto the street, and then I see the same pile. I'm still holding it together so far. I'm still holding it together. I get out of the car, and then there's a big truck in there. We're trying to get all the stuff out, I assume, and then I open the door, and that's when I lose it because I see everything's gone. The house is completely destroyed, and I lose it. And I see my mom, and you know we take the three of us take a minute to cry, and after that though we got to work. Yeah. Because we're like we give ourselves 5 minutes to cry and to think about our past home, but we want a new home now. Yeah. You know, and we worked like dogs getting that sheetrock out. Yeah. And we've been blessed. We got our home 2 weeks later than a lot of people in Houston and Katy because ours was under a mandatory evacuation, so we couldn't go into our home. Yeah. Okay. Couldn't get into our home, and we're almost done. Some people are projecting.
Damn, man.
Some people
y'all are moving.
Yeah. Some people are projecting late November, early December for their house to be finished. We're finished November 5th.
Dude, that's awesome.
November 4th, and I'm just like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
And my dad was like, we just happened to pick the right people. this goes back to the conversation we had before about immigration. We picked somebody from El Salvador, somebody from Nicaragua, people who are here looking to work and earn their way. We picked them, we paid them, and they're doing it better than any other company we've seen, and they're doing it faster.
Hey.
And this goes full circle to the conversation we've had of, you give somebody an opportunity,
they're going to deliver.
They'll repay you.
Yeah.
So by us giving them employment, who knows what we've done for them? Who knows what we've done?
The world of them, maybe.
We must have, I don't know, saved them, or something. But they don't know that they saved us.
Yes.
They saved us. We were at first projecting February.
Holy
February.
Shit.
February, my dad said at first, we're looking at February, the house being finished. And I said, you know what? The amount of damage that we had, that's not bad.
Yeah.
About a week into the individual working, my dad was like, Thanksgiving.
Holy shit.
Thanksgiving.
That's crazy.
And then a few days ago, my dad called me again, and he was like, are you coming for your birthday? And I was like, well, the house is not going to be finished. Why don't you just come up? And he's like, oh, the house will be done.
You're like, what?
Why the hell is that happening? And he's like, we'll have the furniture put in, and the house will be about 98% finished. We'll have some stuff to do still, obviously, but the house will be almost finished completely. Stuff. Yeah. He said the house will be pretty much finished when you come for your birthday. And I was like,
none better than that, man.
Was nothing better.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
I was like, she was like, my mom was like, what do you want for your birthday? And what do you want for a cake? And I was like, I don't want anything. I want to sit on the couch. I want to watch TV with you and Dad, and I want to enjoy our house. And I want to enjoy it.
Oh, it's beautiful, man.
When I went there the first time, it seemed like we have a long way to go. This is going to be such a long road ahead. It's November. We're still in October. We haven't hit Halloween yet, but we're 3 weeks away from November 5th, November 4th, and I have a house to go home to. That's something my girlfriend can't even do.
Wow.
And that's something that, it's hard for her at times.
Yeah.
She's very supportive. But her mom was saying, even though it's still really fast, Thanksgiving, it's still really quick. Still quick. But, for her, it's, my home is still, her home is very advanced. They're doing a really great job. But it's not complete yet. That's why I say I'm blessed.
Yeah.
That we got her home about a week, 2 weeks later compared to when her mom got her home back.
Wow.
And they've been working on it for about a week and 2 weeks ahead of us. And yet we're still ahead of them. We're still ahead of them. And we're going to finish 2 weeks ahead of them. Maybe more. Unfortunately, her mom's had some issues, and they've had some delays, so they might actually push it past November into December. So we're looking at almost a full month complete compared to an individual when her mom who got it 2 weeks before us. That's just a blessing, This is something that you can't explain, because there's people who didn't get as much damage as we did, and they're still not done. Yeah. Somehow we're wrapping up. They're painting today.
Dang, man.
They're painting. My mom and dad are there right now, and they said that the bathrooms are done. We got the front doors. They're painting right now. What we're doing is where we want to put everything when we have to bring the furniture back in. We're still 3 weeks. There's still some stuff to do. But now it's more of let's get into the interior, let's design, let's just organize. And I always said, our house is not going to be like it was before. It's going to be better than it was before. And I don't want to see it until then. My dad tried to send me pictures, and I'll delete them. So it's like, I'm not, knock it off, But I really want to wait, because I want to have that image of what I saw the first time. And then I want to have the complete image in my head. And I want to see the journey, that we all went through, and just see the end result.
That's cool. Oh, that's so cool.
So, we're humbled by, we always say we have some angels up there. Mm-hmm. We have some angels up there. And it's just... sometimes it's emotional, because we know that not everybody's fortunate like us. People our next door neighbors still haven't started working on the house.
Wow.
My mom says that we're the only ones in our cul-de-sac who are finishing.
Yeah.
Who are almost finished. Everybody else is still at least a month, 2 months away from finishing. So it's like we're in paradise because we happen to be almost finished, and I just attribute that. And I told this story to another student who was in office hours. We have this statue of the Virgin Mary in the backyard, and we have her in front of our tree. And the house flooded. It was big, and when I was driving through the neighborhood, and the flood water, the power of the water was knocking these fences over, these brick fences over. They were completely knocked over, and stuff's moved everywhere.
Damn.
Well, my mom's, and I get there, and I look outside, and I see the Virgin Mary's just like we left her. And I was like, "Oh, Mom, just put her back." I was like, "Mom, I'm glad she put back the Virgin Mary, so we can start this healing process." And she was like, "She didn't move."
What?
I was like, what?
Wait. Okay.
So
is it like a big like ceramic statue, or is it like
it's about this tall, this wide?
Okay.
I think.
Like
clay, made out of clay.
Yeah. Okay.
And we put her sitting on a patch of mulch or grass in her garden, so it's not like it was reinforced.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, is there like a brick thing around her?
Yeah, no, it was just she was sitting there on the grass like she always does. So hell, we've had wind knock her down in a regular rainstorm. We had to go get her, but no, she didn't move, and the water got way over her head.
Yeah,
and for some reason she didn't move an inch. Because I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, I'm glad that you put her there. Let's start this healing process. Let's start putting everything back together." And she was like, "She didn't move. I didn't put her there. She didn't touch it. She didn't touch it. I didn't touch anything." And I was like, "Listen, I believe, but But then I went to go see, and I was like, she didn't move.
Wow.
She didn't move. And then her garden was mostly dead because the plants were drinking that nasty, dirty water.
Oh.
So most of her plants are dead.
Yeah, washed out.
Yeah, the plants were drinking that nasty water, and they died from the toxicity, I guess.
Yeah.
But the two trees that were left were the tree where the Virgin Mary was sitting under, and the Christmas tree. We have a Christmas tree in our backyard that we planted from a very young as a seedling.
And
that's the only one. Those are the only two that are fine.
What in the world?
So we were like, what's the chances that the tree where the Virgin Mary is sitting and the Christmas tree are the only two that are living? Everything else is dead and rotting because of that water. Everything, the Christmas tree and the tree are fine.
Wow.
So, hey.
Man, blessed is an understatement.
Blessed is an understatement. God is good.
Man, that's great to hear. That is great to hear. I have a few family friends that were affected. They had to move, completely different neighborhood, and it was real tough on a few friends of mine. Yeah. So to hear that's awesome.
Yeah, I know it was definitely something shocking, and one of the most disturbing things that I remember. I'll even say worse than the incident in my room was my mom called me, and she was just in a panic because the water was starting to get into our house. She said the water is starting to seep in, and she was in full panic mode. And I'll never forget that. Hearing my mom just hysteria because she knew what that meant. The water was getting in, and for the whole time I kept saying the water is not going to get in. It's going to flood. We're fine. But she called me in hysterics saying the water was coming in through the door and to the sides of the house, and it was just complete.
Man, to be there in it. Oh, that's crazy.
To be there in it, she and my dad and my mom and our cat got out on a boat, and they sent me a video of it, and it was like a lake.
Isn't that crazy?
Like a lake. And my dad tried. He walked to my uncle's house. This was a day before they had to leave, and the water got up to his neck. Just walking in that water, and it got higher when they left. Walking in the street. So it was something that it hurts to hear that my parents went through, and my mom tells me that our cat is scarred by that experience because he will not sleep anywhere else besides in between them.
Wow.
My mom, my dad. She's like, he's scarred. He's not sleeping anywhere else. Right now, they're staying at a house, a family member's house. But typically, when he was at our old house, he would sleep on the couch or something like that. But he said he will not sleep anywhere else unless it's between your dad and I. And I was like, well, that sounds like PTSD to me.
Yeah.
Sounds like PTSD. And even they had trouble sleeping. I can imagine,
Oh my God.
Imagine that kind of fear, So it was hard to hear that, but it's so good to see it. We're almost at the end of this journey, almost at the end of this trial, and we came out on top again.
Yeah.
Again. So it's a blessing, and it just goes back into the never surrendering to fear or doubt. Always staying positive, because you know what, you stay positive, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the message. That's awesome, man. Glad to hear it. My God, it's tough stuff.
It's tough. I like to tell people that my life and my parents' lives we've seen some tragedy in our life.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure I was gonna bring it up, but I think I'm gonna do it because I don't want it to be a hidden anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is a joint decision. The girlfriend and I, last October, her and I, we actually lost a kid through miscarriage.
Sorry to hear that.
And it was very hard on us, but it was very hard on me. And still bothers me to this day. And we said, how are we gonna get through this? And we was like, we're gonna name him, and we're gonna give him a name, and we're gonna remember him, and his name would have been Casey, and that's his name. And we went from it, we don't want to tell our parents because we don't want to, nothing to happen, to now we don't want to hide him anymore. This is not something to be ashamed about. This is not something to be, it's just, we need to know that he would have been here, he'd been born in July. So he would have been growing up.
Yeah.
He'd have been still a small kid, but I think for both of us, we were like, we don't want him to not be hidden from the world. We want it more to know that the world, that he was here.
Mm-hmm.
He was just, and this was early on, but we wanted the world to know that he was here, even for a small moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that his tiny moment, even though we never got to hold him, we never got to see him, but the fact that we know he was there for even just a brief moment in life, that he changed our lives for the better. And it's something that I'll never forget, and that I'll never stop thinking about. I think about him every day.
Yeah.
I think about him every day. And it goes from, after lecture on Friday, talk moments of myself. I'd have been like, well, I hope he would have been proud. He would have been proud of his dad. And everything in life I do now is, well, this would have been for you. This would have been for you. And, lecture and the grades that I get and building the house. And it would have been like, well, this is just, for you. We would have rebuilt. We're rebuilding now.
For you.
Yeah. We'll have a seat for you on Thanksgiving. We'll have a seat for you on Christmas.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend and I told our parents,
mm-hmm.
and they said, well, a family member forever. We'll always have
still
that.
Here.
Still here. We'll always have that seat for him reserved. Even now, watching football season is tough. watching the Saints is very tough because just besides the Saints suck.
Yeah.
But
they're doing all right.
They're doing all right right now. But I think me being so in love with football and knowing that he would have been here watching the games with me, it's tough. And I'd say that, he's doing all right his first season. He's doing okay his first season. So that's just things that, what happened with Casey and the hurricane and Katrina back in 2005. There's things that you think would just beat somebody to the ground. And I'm not saying that there's not some permanent damage. There is. But what I like to say is that, if anything, it just made me go stronger. Yeah. Get stronger, more motivated. The fire
made the whole family stronger.
Yeah, it made the family stronger. What happened with Casey? I said, if there was any sign of the fire burning out, that's gone. It's burning brighter and fiercer than any that it's ever been in my lifetime, and it will continue to do so. Yeah. That's why I dropped the. What I hope heaven is like for kids. That's why I mentioned that, because I have that hope, that Courtney and I will have that opportunity. Open the pearly gates, and he's there waiting for us, and we get to do what we didn't get to do on earth. So, it's tough, but it's easier talking about it now. It feels like it hurt me and her before because we felt like we were hiding him. I felt like we were doing a disservice to him and his memory. Now we tell. Yeah. Now we tell because there's nothing to be ashamed about. He was here, for a brief moment in time. We never got to see him, but he was here. We know he was. And that's something that we'll carry with us for the rest of our lives. And we discussed how we're going to handle this going forward, with kids and future kids and all that. And, we said we agreed, when they're older, we'll say, there was one who was going to be way older than y'all. Yeah. But,
gotcha.
Way older than y'all. But you know what? He's here. Yeah. He's here. He's keeping an eye on, all of us. And
he is a part of you.
Yeah, he's a part of me always, and it's just something that we just carry with us. Yeah.
Oh man, I really appreciate you saying that to me, or sharing that with me, because similar thing kind of happened with a really good friend of mine. He's my best friend, and him and his girlfriend miscarried. And that was probably the roughest thing that I've ever experienced. And, it wasn't even me, so I can't even imagine, my friend.
Yeah. There was a lot of crying. Lot of crying. Courtney's so much stronger than me. Mm-hmm. I still have bouts of sadness and crying nowadays, as recent as a few days ago. Mm-hmm. But then she's right there. And I was like, how are you so strong?
You're so awesome.
Yeah, he was inside of you. Yeah. You held him for a very brief moment, but how are you keeping me together? Yeah. She's like, well, because you keep me together on other things. Oh. So I'm eternally grateful for her. And now I'm trying to move past it more, not being sad anymore, but just carrying the torch for the both of us. Yeah. Living life for myself and for him, studying for myself and for him, doing everything that he can't do. Yeah. Cheering twice as hard. Yeah. Studying twice as hard. Running as hard, and it's something that you just have to be able to harness for the good, because it can destroy you. Yeah. It can destroy you. I've seen it. People destroyed by this news. And it almost did for me. Mm-hmm. At first. It almost did for me. But what saved me was Courtney's support and being able to talk about it. Yeah. And not hiding. Being able to tell my mom, my mom could tell, mothers have this amazing gift.
Isn't that crazy?
They just know.
Yes.
They just know. But she could tell that something was bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just like, what's wrong? Like, I know something wrong about you. And I just bawled.
Yeah.
And then I told her, and then she started crying. And my dad came, and we let him know. And then we were just like, we talked about it, and they said, why'd you keep it from us? And I was like, it was just hard. I didn't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
How
do you explain
anything like that? And then Courtney told her mom, and her mom had the same reaction, and they both had a tear. And actually, Courtney got me for my undergraduate present from graduating from A&M. She got me this. I don't know if you ever heard of the willow tree statues.
Yeah.
It's a mom and dad holding the baby, and she got me that for my graduation gift. And it's next to me every night I go to sleep. It's on my night table every night. And that's the best present I ever got.
Yeah.
Because it's right next to me every day, and I look at it at least 20 times a day. At least 20 times a day, and I mention it, almost like prayer, like, well, case I'm gonna go do homework now, or I'm gonna go watch football now, or today was good, it was a little rough today, but I'm doing all right. Kind of updating him on what my life is doing. I know he can see, but I want him to know what his mom and dad are doing and how we're doing. And I think that's how it gets me through it. Just knowing or believing that he's there, and that we're gonna meet him someday. But we still have work to do here. There's still so much good we can do here. So, the dying internally, is not an option, because we have to help these people that I said in the beginning. We have to help these people. And if it's not going to be us, then who is going to do it? It hasn't been done before yet, So with Casey, it's more of it's hard, but we have to keep going. He's not left behind. He's with us every step of the way, but we can't let the sadness that he's not physically here
keep you guys back.
No, I think actually tonight we're going to go to a pumpkin patch, and we're going to pick out a pumpkin for him. And we're going to do that. And then for Christmas, we wanted to have 3 stockings, one for me, one for her, and one for him. So that keeping that memory alive, and then we were talking like, this is going to be hard, Thanksgiving, Christmas, having all these events where he would have been here. Could have dressed him up. Could have dressed him up and all that.
Do the whole nine.
Do the whole thing, But, it's just our way to keep going, keep his memory going. And, the amazing thing is that people know now about him. It's no longer, he's not an obscure thing. He was a baby for a very tiny moment, and he had such a role in our lives for that tiny moment in life, and he continues to have an important role in how we go about day-to-day life. And for me, it's more about doing what he can't do. For him, breathing, walking, running, cheering, doing everything he can't do. I'm going to do it for him, Yeah,
that's like we were saying. Twice the work, twice the cheering, twice the running.
Right. And then people are like, you have enough already on your plate. You're trying to represent for Honduras, and you're trying to represent for your son now, and how you do it. And I was like, I thrive on this.
It's you.
It's who I am. I want to be able to set the example for those kids in Honduras. To say, he's one of us, and he's graduating from a university. Why can't we do that? I want to do that. On the same token, I want to say, I want my son up there to be like, that's my dad. Look at him. He's lecturing in front of 125. Look at that.
He's killing it.
Yeah, he's killing it. He has a PhD. Look at that. He set up a charity. I can carry the weight or the burden of these two because I can do it and because I choose to do it.
Yes.
That's
the hardest part.
Right. The hardest part is, like you said, is
actually doing it.
Right. Because
acting.
Not everybody can do it. And, I don't fault them for not doing it. It's very hard.
Oh.
There are days that are harder than others.
Yeah.
Some days I'm just about to be crushed by the weight of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I have the support system, because I would have been crushed a long time ago if it wasn't for my parents and Courtney and all my friends and family. I would have been crushed a long time ago. But even if it's just, a pick me up, Courtney's like, well, good job. My parents are like, house is going great. Don't worry about us here.
Yeah.
It's so instrumental in keeping me focused. My parents are like, don't worry about the house. We're taking care of that. You keep going at A&M. It's stuff like that. It's just, that's who I am. It's not just the person you see right now doing it. There's so much more than what you see on the outside, because on the inside, there's a lot at work, family, friends, that keeps this person together. So, those days I'm in class, it might not be the best day, it might be the greatest day, but it's being held together by some really good glue.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just how I carry my day out.
Oh, man. No, it's important. It's important to keep those values, keep those beliefs, keep family close.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's important. Hey, man, I appreciate you. How much was this? Was it 2 hours? I mean, I don't want to keep you for longer than you have to be here.
No, you're good. I'd say, we've got another 30 minutes, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, please.
So, really what I wanted to mention is something that's been on my mind. It was about our conversation about religion. And it's something that you said. It was a way that you interpreted, what was it, hell? What was your interpretation of hell?
It was kind of a stereotypical way. I kind of mentioned purgatory.
Yes.
Because I was talking to you about Faust.
Yes.
And
which you didn't like the ending.
Oh, that pissed me off because like I said before, I understood how hard, why people liked the first book, because it was a lot easier to get and it was like funny. It was like it had some good bits in there where like comedic relief is right after they sign the pact or discuss the pact. The comic relief is one of his students comes in and the devil talks to him and gives him tips and like some of the things that like the Holy Trinity. He was like, "Come in."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I can't come in yet." "Come in." He's got to say it 3 times. And then there's like certain cues like that. But one pivotal point in it was he's like, "All right, show me hell."
Yeah.
This is hell. Like,
yeah.
This is hell.
Boom.
And when I talked about purgatory, I kind of think, like, are we in purgatory right now?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
So
that was my big thing.
I like that interpretation of purgatory because you endure both. You endure happiness and you endure suffering. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna roll with that one from now on. Okay. So, excuse me. I like that because you do feel both. You do feel both. For me, the highest point is graduating and seeing the Saints win the Super Bowl. And, stuff like that. You just feel like it doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. But then you get the depressing part. You get losing my house and my kid. Katrina, stuff like that, and you just think, what can be worse?
Yeah, why is this happening?
Why is this going on?
Yeah.
And then that made me think that, well, there's only one place where you can just both, purgatory. Yeah. So I like that. I'm gonna roll with that. I like that.
Thanks, man.
I feel like I had a good heaven and hell, but I think purgatory for me was, I didn't like the interpretation of you're just stuck.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like that.
I feel like it's too simple.
Yeah, it's too simple. I don't think it did it justice because purgatory is, it is that little bit of both. I think. I just couldn't quite pinpoint how I would characterize it. Whether you have, you can see both. You can see the glass in hell, and you can see your world in heaven. That's what I thought about. But then I think, no, that's overly complicating the matter. But the way you said it is great because we're able to experience both of these highs and lows in the world. And there's some highs of highs, but some really lows in the world for everybody. I say that even my suffering is not as bad as somebody else's in the world. As bad as it is, it's still there's somebody else out there that's suffering way worse than me. So, and I know for some people it feels like hell because all they do is suffer. So I can understand that. But I say this isn't hell because there is that moment of happiness you experience here. And hell is designed to torture you permanently. So it can't be hell here. So, but it can't be heaven here either because you do have those sadness.
Moments,
This moment of sadness. So, yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
I like that.
It's something that I've always kind of talked about with a few friends of mine. And like with another thing, discussing on the topic of oh dang it, I just lost it. Come on. Like kind of talking about like psychology. Like within someone, there's a level of mischief or a level of deviance that you're aware of, and it's up to you to know how to control that,
right? And
which makes you a good person. So I'm trying to like learn more about that because like how, and it was a little bit in Faust too. I can't think of the certain quote. I hope it comes to me, but talked about how much mischief one has and understanding how much mischief one has because that makes you a good person. Right. Because say that you do good all the time. Yeah. Good things happen to you all the time. Like, are you good then? Does that make you good?
Yeah. So if I'm understanding you correctly, somebody who experiences good all the time, I think that's very different from do you do good? And I think the word good is a two-part thing. You can experience it, but you need to be able to do it.
Yes.
To have the complete experience. So somebody who says, I do good, for example, all I do is spend my time helping the needy, helping the poor, anything like that. But if your life is one whole life of suffering, you can't really say you are good. Yeah. On the same turn, everything good happens for you. You get every lottery number. Everything flows. Everything flips your way. Yeah. But you don't use your privilege, or you don't use your privilege. Yeah. You don't use that for good, to do good, to help the world in some way. Then you're not good. Then you're not good because you're not doing what encompasses the word. And it means two things. You can receive good news, you can receive good things, and you can do good things. And I think that is the definition of a good person.
I like that.
But I think, and this is going to be very controversial.
Why not? Let's go.
I don't think there is a good person. I think there's something else. What? We need to characterize each other something else, because every person in this world, for the most part, you, me, girlfriend, parents, has done good or received good. Sure. We've also done bad. Yes. We've done very bad things, and we've received bad things. You can't say you're a good person only when you've done bad. there's something else. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it right now.
I don't know what the word is, but I would say when somebody tells me I'm a good person, I say thank you. But there has to be something else because I've done bad.
Yeah.
And I know for some people, maybe even myself, I feel like sometimes I've done more bad than good. Mm-hmm. And then where does that leave me? Maybe I do something that changes the world and helps people. But does that one thing make up for all the bad you've done in the past? Maybe so. I don't know. But I think that it's important to realize that there are some people who spend their lives doing bad, committing horrible crimes, horrible things. And one day, let's say a murderer, for example, he's killed 20 people, he's relived his whole life a matter of bad and evil. One day he saved somebody, for example. Does that act of good save his soul? Does that one act, let's say he does that and then he changes his life. He does good all the way until the point he dies. Mm-hmm. Is that a good person? If from the moment he's done 20 murders before, for some reason he doesn't get caught. Yeah. But he saves that one person, and the rest of his lives, however that's 40 or 10 years, he spent the rest of his life doing good, feeding the needy, donating money, doing everything. Does that make somebody a good person? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. So I think we have to look at it. Obviously, nobody here is a killer, I think. Yeah. But I think that we have to look at it on that same lens. We've all done bad stuff, very bad stuff. Does the good that we've done completely overrule the bad that we've done, and does that make us a good person? It's a tough thing.
It is a tough thing.
It's a tough thing. So I don't know. So I don't have the word. Right. I don't have the word for it, but I think that it's something that people have to be aware of. Yeah. Because you do good and you change your life for good, but it's important to realize the bad that you've done and continue to erase that bad by keep doing good.
Okay. Do you erase the bad, or
you bury it? Bury it. I don't think you can erase it. You caught me. Yeah, you caught me. I don't think you can erase it because it's stained on your soul. Sure. It's stained on your soul.
Yeah, it happened.
God doesn't
There's no
forget.
denying. Yeah.
Maybe you forget. You spend the next 30 years of your life doing good, but God doesn't forget. Yeah. He's going to pull out the book. He's going to be like, what happened there?
Yeah, come on.
So you're right. I don't think it gets erased. I think it gets buried. Okay. And I think the more good that you do, the deeper the bad goes. Okay. I think the deeper it gets buried.
But there's no denying that.
There's no denying it. But also, you do good, you bury it, and then you do something really bad.
And
it comes back up again. It comes back up to the surface, and then you can start over. So I think that's the way I want to interpret that.
Okay. I like that, though.
Erasing is too, it's permanent, and you can't ever take back what you've done. Yeah. You can't take back all the good you've done.
Oh, no.
So why would you take back?
It's like, why would you want to?
Yeah, why would you want to? So you can't take back the bad because the people whoever's been involved in it will always remember that.
Exactly.
So they're always going to remember it. So you can't erase that. So that's the way I like to interpret it.
No, that's a perfect way to interpret it. I really think so.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Because, that plays into just like some of the things that I've done and experiences that I've had with people, good or bad. Yeah. And I've had some really terrible experiences, but me and that person toughed it out, did what we can, but in the end, it still didn't work out. Right. So what do I take in solace? It's like, I tried. Yeah. But, continue to do what you know is good. Continue to do what you want to do, what you enjoy. But I don't know. I feel like everyone has been there, and it's important to. I think it's just more important to learn from like what you've done.
I agree.
So
that's the only way you get better.
Oh, of course.
It's the only way you get better.
Yeah.
Because you're just doomed to repeat history if you just forget it.
Okay, that's another thing. Do you feel like, kind of going on the same thing, if all these good things happen to you, where am I going with this? Dang it, I lost it. What the heck? Oh, okay. Say that, okay, you're in a wealthy family.
Right.
Super wealthy. I'm talking like mad money. It's been in the family for years. You grew up in a mansion. You go to college just because it's nothing. And then you skim your way through college, maybe. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just go in the family business and then do whatever the hell you want for the rest of your life. But say that everything is so good for you and you don't really experience failure. But when you do, and you fall off that horse, do you fall off hard? Do you fall off, you're like, okay, that'll never happen again. I'll try again. But I find that really concerning because over like this patch of grass, kind of what we were talking about in the way beginning, how lucky we really have it here compared to everywhere else in the world. And if we, I feel like a lot of us are like our age are very afraid of failure.
Oh yeah.
Very afraid of failure. And how can you be afraid of failure when you need to fail, especially at like this age? I feel like it's very pivotal to fail at this age, so you can go on with your life with the wisdom of, and you learn from it.
Right.
Everything that I'm saying right now, you learn from it.
Right.
So, what is your opinion on that?
Well, I'd like to say that those people who experience so much goodness throughout their whole lives, and the first failure they have, my experience has been is it's always been a hard fall. Mm-hmm. It's always been a heck of a hit. On the same thing, however, is when I had my first legitimate failure, it was hard, and I fell hard, and it took me a while to get back on my feet. But before I've had failures before then. Mm-hmm. So I think it matters more about the person than it does about necessarily the experience.
Yeah, okay.
My girlfriend, when she fell, and she was very, blessed in her childhood. Mm-hmm. She had a lot of money. They went on vacations, but when she fell, when she was on her own for the first time, and she fell, and she almost sank. Yeah. So I think a lot of it goes into the individual person and what that person needs. Sometimes a person doesn't need a drastic example to change. Yeah. Or doesn't need a drastic example to learn. But people like myself or Courtney or any other people, to get right or to become the person that you want to become or need to become, sometimes you have to fall and fall hard to where you can't get up the first, second, or even the third time. So I think it all comes down to what does that person need themselves. Yeah. For me, it was I needed a drastic example. My drastic example was I only got kicked out of a community college. That was my example. That was my rock bottom academically. And I needed that, though, because if I had just kept going back and forth, C's and D's, I would have never learned my lesson. Yeah. But when I got that letter saying, you're going to get kicked out unless you fix this, I was like, okay, this is rock bottom, and I don't like this. On the same token, though, sometimes it doesn't work out. So it's a very tricky. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but
no, you are.
for some people, that drastic example is too much, and they never get up. Or for some people, the example is not strong enough, and they never learn their lesson, and they spiral out of control until it's too late.
Yep.
I think it's a 50-50 thing. I think it depends on what the person needs, and it depends on the person themselves. Are you willing to change? Are you willing to learn from this experience? If you are, great. Move forward. But those people who have experienced drastic things in their lives and refuse to change or refuse to acknowledge the need for them to mature, those are the kind of people where they spiral.
Yeah.
They spiral out of control, and there's nothing anybody can do. You can't help a person who doesn't want to get helped.
Yes.
I've been there. I've been there. Somebody who doesn't want help, somebody who doesn't want your help, is somebody who will never get better unless they realize how far down the hole they've gotten.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hole is too deep. But that's not to say you can't help them. You just need to get a ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. A long ladder. So I don't think anybody's beyond help until the point of death. I think everybody can be helped.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think everybody can be helped until they die. And if somebody, for example, is a drug addict, and you spend your whole life can try to help them, you can pull them back from the brink. The only way that you can definitively say they can't be helped is if they die.
Yeah.
Because you can no longer have access to that person. You can no longer speak to them. They can no longer feel that they want to get help. So I've never been in a position where I feel like somebody, even crazy people, murderers and killers and stuff like that, I think even they can be brought back from the brink. But I think sometimes we get the ladder and we reach down the hole, but they swat it away. And they spend the rest of their lives swatting it away until they die. And I think then that's a whole different thing altogether. Somebody who doesn't want to help you, you can reach as far as you want. But if they're slapping away your hand, there's nothing you can do. You can still help them. You can spend the rest of your life trying to. It's just, it might not work because they don't want it. So.
I have a really close family member that's just like that.
Yeah.
And it's tough. We're hoping they just, maybe one day they wake up and change somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe something drastic happens and it changes their mind about it. But it's tough when it's real personal. But,
yes.
But like a big part of what you're saying, it is it depends on the person.
Yes.
You can do as much as you possibly can, but it's just going to be up to how the person is going to react and how they're going to take it to it.
It's took me a long time to realize that because there was one person in my when I was growing up with, and he was much older at this point, and I tried my hardest to help him. And even to this day, he's still not helped.
Yeah.
But then I realized I have to stop more for myself.
Yeah. If it's
more for myself, because not that I think he's beyond help, but I think that he doesn't want my help. And maybe I'm part of the problem. So I took myself out of that situation and I said, you know what? I hope you get help someday, and I hope you get out of this.
Best of luck.
Best of luck to you. I'm not giving up on you. I feel like I'm the problem, or I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I'm just making the situation worse.
Yeah.
So I took myself out of that situation, and you know what? He's still going down the wrong path, but he's still breathing.
Yeah.
So
he's still with us.
Still with us. There's still hope, but I don't think there's anything I can do to bring him back. And really, it dawns on people. Maybe one day they wake up and they get better. But this person I was very close with growing up, and it's so sad to see that. And I wanted to help him, but I was making myself ill. Not physically ill, but internally.
Yeah, like
because I was beating myself for not being able to help him.
Yeah.
And then I came to a realization of you just can't help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
So
God helps those who help themselves.
Exactly. And it's always that, well, why doesn't God do this? Why does God allow that to, do that? And I was like, God is looking at each one of us right now. And he does help. Obviously, my house is almost finished, so he does help. But there are those who, if he fixes the problem like that, that's not going to teach anybody. That's not going to teach them anything.
Oh, of course. Of course. There's a process.
You have to learn to go through the process to get better. Mm-hmm. And for some people, that process is it's too much to bear. And some people never get out of it. I like to err on the side of there's always hope. Mm-hmm. There's always hope. There's always something that can be done.
Yeah.
As bad as Honduras is, as bad as the situation is, there's always hope for it. I always believe I can, maybe not myself, but a group of people, we can bring Honduras back from the brink. Yeah. We can bring it back. Your family member, I don't know about you personally or anybody in your family, but always hope that you can bring that person back. That's what I try to. Yeah, you keep going at it, and they can slap your hand away 1,000 times, and maybe you feel like you take yourself out of the situation because you're not making it better. But in the back of your head, you feel like there's hope for that person. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm the one who is not the one to do it, and that's hard for somebody who's competitive.
Yes, it is.
For somebody who prides himself on that. It's hard to admit that.
I feel like a failure.
Yeah, you feel like a failure. Absolutely. You feel like you didn't do what you were built for.
Yeah. It's like, how?
Yeah, like
I can't help this?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be the one to fix this.
Yeah.
It's all me. But that goes back to the weight on my shoulders. It's tough to differentiate. There's some things that are not supposed to be on my shoulders, and that's hard for me because I want it all.
Yeah.
But there's some things.
No, I'm built
I can
for
take
it.
it.
Yeah,
I can take it. Come on. But there's some things that are just not meant for me to handle.
Yeah.
And that's very hard for me to accept.
Yeah.
But I make myself ill, or I could destroy myself if I try to put something on myself that's not meant to be there.
Exactly.
And those signs are there all the time. So God's like, you're not supposed to handle that. But I'm gonna try anyway.
Yeah,
but eventually
let you figure it out.
Yeah, God's like, you'll learn on yourself.
Yeah, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But I think eventually we learn that it's not for us to do. Yeah. And that's hard. But you have to learn that lesson, or else they're gonna bring you down.
Yeah.
With you. And as hard as it is that person has to be able to help themselves and want to change and want to be helped
and want to help themselves. Some people just like to be miserable.
Yes,
it's kind of like refer back to some text.
Yeah.
What was it? What the heck? Was it? Oh my God! It was man. He was he wanted to hear. Was it the Raven? No.
He
wanted to hear that, like nevermore.
The Raven.
Yeah, it was the Raven. And like just hearing that, I'm like, man. Sometimes when you're having like a good cry, you like want to make yourself cry more.
Yeah.
And like then and when you're really sad, you start thinking of all the bad shit.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that kind of plays a part of like some people just not like to be miserable, but
they choose to be in it.
Yeah, they choose to be. Yeah. Yes, choose.
Yeah, I've been like that before.
We all have.
The feeling bad for myself. Yeah. Wow, woe is me, and all that nonsense. It's all that. But I could spend a whole year crying about my house, crying about my kid. I could spend a whole year doing that.
Yeah.
Well, what's that going to do? It's going to put me a year behind.
Exactly.
It's going to put me a year behind. So I'd rather invest my time in good, and doing good, than dreading or spending time on the negativity. Because all that's going to do is take away from the time I have on this earth to do good.
Yep.
And there's so much riding on this. If the one thing I want everybody to know about what I've said. If nothing else.
Nothing else.
If nothing else. The one thing I want people to hear from me is that I am driven to create change. I'm not trying to change the world because I can't. That's not my goal, you know. What I want to do is I want to change something that I feel like I can change.
Mm-hmm.
Honduras, I feel like I can change that. I feel like that's something that I was born to be able to do that. And through all the negativity, my house, my kid, Katrina, through all that, I'm still standing and I'm still able to help those kids in Honduras. And hopefully in the future, I'm able to start something. Maybe I'm not going to finish it, you know, but maybe 40 years, 50 years later, after I've been teaching forever, maybe on my deathbed, I see that one of my students or two of my students carried on what I started and they solved the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm not going to solve it. It's a big problem with Honduras. But maybe I inspire people through my lecture, through my words, through my talks. Maybe I can inspire one individual to carry on my work and to finish it.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll be the one up there looking good. Good.
Yeah.
So that's really what I want to get across, is that I was brought on this earth to do something. And I feel like I know what it is now.
Yeah.
And I can't let the sadness and the hardships distract me from that.
Yeah.
And I can't let the good distract me from that either. The pleasures of life.
Mm-hmm.
I can't let it distract me because I have something that needs to get done. And if I don't do it, then who else is going to do it? If I don't do it, then is there any hope left?
Yeah.
So I carry it around like I'm the hope for these kids. I'm the hope for these people. I feel like I'm the one who has to do this.
Gives you a purpose.
Right.
Man.
It's my purpose in life. You know, maybe right now I'm grading Poe essays, you know. Yeah. But, you know, eventually I'll get to the point where I can do some good and leave this earth and finally see my kid and my mom and dad and my grandparents, and they can say, you did what you could. And if that is my lasting legacy, is he did what I want people to remember me for is he tried. And he did what he could in the time that was given to him.
This is what he did.
This is what he did.
Yeah.
And he tried. Maybe he didn't finish it. Maybe he didn't solve the whole problem. Maybe he didn't solve anything. At least he tried.
Yeah.
At least he spent his life committed to helping these people. And that was what his purpose in life was. If that's what I want my legacy to be in 60, 70 years. If that's what my legacy is, I'm fine. I can die.
Hey, man. That's beautiful.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. But you think of it. How old are you?
25, going on 26.
Going on 26. I'm 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now you make me feel old.
Oh, fine, man. It takes time.
Yes.
Like, if people are like, when did you figure that out? If you even have it figured out yet. Like, you have a pretty good idea, so I envy that. That's awesome. Yeah. That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll support you in any way that I possibly can, because that's awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that I figured it out. What I wanted to do with my life is, I think it's a 3-part thing. One, when I lost my kid, is probably the one of the most important things. Number 2 is seeing what's happening over there, seeing it, and then number 3 is living it. That it's no longer an impersonal thing. It's a personal thing. When I got those 3 things together, my kid, living the experience, and then seeing it, I came to a conclusion that I need to do something. That's when, and it was a a process that took a very long time, and it's still an incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It's still an incomplete idea. It's still an incomplete belief. But I think for my advice would be for people younger than me who are looking for their purpose in life. Don't focus on something that you feel you need to perfect it.
Yes.
Don't go after something that you think, okay, I'm not going to be satisfied until this idea is perfect and I know it set in stone. It's something that I'm supposed to do. Because then you're just going to spend the rest of your life following something that's not there. Get something that you feel is workable. Feel like you truly want to do this. You're truly passionate about this. And maybe you're decades away from being able to initiate it, but you feel like you can work with this and you feel like you can accomplish it. Because if you find something that you feel is set in stone, where's the work in that?
There's no work.
There's no work in that. You don't have the opportunity to mold it to what you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I said when I first started is I want to help people. That's fine. That's a good thing for most people. How do you want to help people? Well, I want to help poor people. You see the progression?
Yeah.
You see the progression. So you have to be able. So the incomplete idea is I want to help people. Well, there's millions of people throughout the world. You can't help everybody.
Yeah.
So your lifetime, and that's really what it has been so far for me, a lifetime, just to get to the point of who I want to help.
Yeah.
It's taken me a quarter of my life to figure out I want to help my people. You work your life to figure out what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you keep working it, and it's never complete. You're never gonna have
it. Won't be.
Right? It will never.
Probably.
Be.
Yeah.
Never. And I think it's important that it's not ever complete.
Yes.
Because if let's say you accomplish everything, you do everything you wanted to do. What else do you have? You have your family, of course. You have your loved ones, but your work, your life's dreams. It's what do you have left? Yeah. I know that I'm not going to solve my problem. I know that I'm not going to solve it. Nobody will. It's never going to be a complete solution or a finished product.
Yeah.
Someday there will be somebody who is faced with that question. I solved this. Yeah. Where do I go? So I can't speak for them. I can speak for me because the journey is so far. I know I'm not going to realize completely the solution, but what's important for me is to lay out the groundwork. And I would say that is important for people younger than me, is that maybe you won't finish what you started, but you can inspire people to do it.
Yes.
And that's what's important about an idea or a belief or what you want to do with your life. Live it thinking, well, I probably won't finish this, but maybe there'll be somebody who takes
the reins and gets further.
Picks up where I left off, and they get further. Maybe they don't finish it, but then somebody finishes it or something like that. So that's what I would say. Never chase a complete idea.
Yeah.
Because they don't exist.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
And you'll drive yourself mad doing it. Because then you'll be chasing a ghost.
Yeah.
You will.
There's no reason for it.
Right.
I like that. Thank you.
No, of course.
No, really, thank you.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
It kind of goes into this is just an example. I had one guy on my podcast. He's doing computational research here at Texas A&M, and he was talking about Moore's law, which is essentially the law of where our computers advance every 2 years. After 2 years, your computer gets slower, and then they got the new best thing. Essentially, in a few more years, that law will no longer be true.
Yeah.
But it took a whole lifetime to get there. So, I mean, that's just one example.
Right. No, it's never the journey is never over until it's over.
Right.
And I don't anticipate the story ending with me.
Yeah.
I think, maybe it's my kids that take up the reins. Maybe not. But it's just too much in the world to do for one person to finish it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if I would want all the credit.
Yeah.
Because I don't deserve all the credit if I do finish it. Mm-hmm. Because, I just don't see myself being the only person contributing to this issue. There's been people before me who started it. I'm just picking off where some people left off.
Right.
So I want to leave a legacy of hope for not just my future kids or my family, but for people in that region. Mm-hmm. You go in my office, there's a big Honduras flag now.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
With all the saints.
The saint stuff and everything. But I do that as a reminder, not to say that I love one more than the other, more than America, mm-hmm. but to say that America doesn't need my help.
Yeah.
America, if I focus strictly on Honduras, America is not going to miss me, mm-hmm. because it has so many stars and so many talented people that America will never be, it'll be no worse than second or first.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. So if I spend my time dedicated to Honduras, I know that my country, the USA, is in good hands, and it's my home. I wouldn't, I can't imagine living anywhere else, because this is my home, and this is the home that gave me the opportunity to help my ancestral home. So I'm forever grateful to this country, and there's no other word that I can use to describe America besides home.
Yeah.
I can be in Madrid or Barcelona or Munich or wherever in the world, but it'll never be home, even if I decide to move there.
Yeah.
Because America is always that place that, the American dream happens. It's where a Central American can talk to a group of 125 and have the attention and be respected. That's an American thing. That's something that is special to this country.
Yeah.
What other country? My girlfriend is German, Irish, and Scottish.
She's got some family.
Yeah, I am Honduran and Nicaragua. What other country are you going to see that combination? No, it's not nowhere else. It's special about this country, and I love this country to death. And I will defend it to the day that I no longer have a breath in my body.
Yeah.
I criticize it because I'm a realist. Mm-hmm. I'm able to criticize my country when it does bad. It's like it does good.
And we reserve that right.
Right, we reserve that right. I voted and I'm a citizen. Yeah. So I criticize this country when it needs it.
Yeah.
But I'll be the first one to tell you, I'll praise it to heaven and earth when it's doing good. Yeah. But you got to have both. Yeah. You can't just say this is the greatest country, which it is, but you can't just say that and not criticize it.
Yes.
Because then you're not telling the whole picture.
Exactly.
We
have a history.
We have a history. Native Americans, slavery, Central America. So the sooner that people get out of this blind patriotism, and just believing that we're the only light of good and that we can do no wrong, I think the sooner we realize that there is some bad, but we're working to bury it, I think the sooner we realize that, the sooner that we can make it better than it was before. Yeah. Because I think right now we're in a tough situation, honestly. I've never seen so much hate and anger in this country before.
It makes amazing. No sense. I'm like, what happened?
Right. It's just like overnight, there's hatred on both sides. And I've been critical of both sides. But I think that the sooner we get back to admitting our mistakes and praising our good, the sooner we can get back to being together. Yeah. Because, boy, we are split right now. And
kind of like you said, I guess it happened. It didn't happen overnight. Yeah. But it's weird how it's such a two-sided thing. Oh, like, yeah. what really bothered me when I was at Lone Star, I was in government, like taking, the required courses. And one of the questions on one of the tests was, true or false? Is America political something like political system? It wasn't worded like that, but it's like, it essentially, is America divided today? True or false?
Yeah.
And the answer was true.
Yeah.
And it was the most divided we've ever been since the Civil War. And I'm like, what the... But that boggles my mind. It's like we have an abundant of... Like, our lives are completely different than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and so on. And we're bringing back... I don't like. I feel like we were so past this. Why are we regressing?
I think that's just humanity as a whole.
History repeats itself.
History repeats itself. I think that looking at it, race relations have never been worse. This whole issue between whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and it's not just a white person thing. There's fighting in the communities themselves.
Yes.
In the black community and the Hispanic community, you have that division. And I don't know how you get back to... I don't even know if we were ever whole.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we were ever whole.
Yeah.
But at least when I was growing up, it felt like there was some unity, especially after 9/11.
Oh, man.
There
that
was
beat
the flag, America. But now I feel like there is this canyon dividing the country.
Yeah.
There's this canyon. And I had this conversation with my cousin who he's very liberal in his beliefs, and I'm typically conservative in my beliefs. And we were talking like we always do, and he stopped me and he was like, "You see what this is going on right here?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "That's the problem with America. The problem with America is that you can no longer have a calm conversation, without somebody getting offended, without somebody getting angry.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
That's the problem with America. And he's like, that's how you fix it. You start dialogue without getting offended. You just respect.
Yeah.
Respect the conversation.
It's like gone now.
Right. See, the way I view it is, and people look at me and I was like, well, you're not always conservative. I was like, no, I just respect the other side. And I agree with some of the other side. Some of the liberal way of thinking, I 100% agree with. Yeah. It's perfectly fine. I just tend to, most of my belief is going on the conservative side. But there are some parts of,
it could be a moderate or whatever the hell they call it.
People get on my case like you voted for Obama and you call yourself a conservative. I was like, yeah, because I liked what the message that he spread. I liked that. Change. Did I think change happened? No. That's a conversation for another day. Yeah. But I don't like to hold myself to one ideology just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of saying I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican, that's all I believe in. No. Nowadays it's like, well, the wall's a stupid idea. The travel ban is stupid. And people's like, well, you're a conservative. Shouldn't you be in favor of that? I was like, no, it's called being neutral.
Yeah. There is such a thing.
But then on the same side, I've had liberals, and I tell them, I'm going to look at Donald Trump neutrally. I'm just going to look at him. I'm going to focus on what he says and what he does, and I'm going to judge based on that and that alone. Yeah. Period. And people are like, well, you should have your preconceived notions about him already, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's not how I work. I need to be focused, unbiased. And now I have my opinions on him, and it's not all positive. It's not very positive. But that's just only after spending time evaluating each decision that he's made and the conversations that he's had. But I do that with everything in the political side. But even now, I feel like I can't talk politics anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Just because it's such a, unstable situation.
Yeah, I would describe it as that.
It's unstable. And you have that problem with race nowadays. There is that divide it's always been there, but I can't remember a time when there has been this much divide. And it's not just between whites and blacks, it's between everybody in the country. Blacks and Hispanics are notorious. Their communities have not gotten along. That's just a fact. But I think we forget to focus on in our own communities. I think we forget that a lot, that there is a lot of infighting. And that before we can change race relations between each other, we have to fix it internally first. We have to have this and respect people's beliefs, but we have to stop this fighting amongst ourselves and each other's community. In the Hispanic community, there's so much fighting between illegal immigration and legal immigration. And there's a huge divide and there's bitterness on both sides. And I say that until we get to a point where we can unanimously have a conversation of respect and a conversation of morality, we won't be able to accomplish anything because there's just not respect amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
How can we respect with other racial groups if we can't even respect ourselves? So I think that's where the disconnect is in America right now. There's no respect. There's not a lot. There is none.
Yeah.
There is no respect. And until we get to the point, and this is both a liberal and a conservative problem. No one group is more guilty than both groups are equally guilty. And until we get to a point where we're having conversations with each other again, friendly but professional conversations, and respecting each other, until we get to that point, I think this is just going to get worse and worse and worse.
And along with that is listening.
Yes.
A lot of it is just refusing to listen and kind of perpetuate whatever idea you want to spit back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I heard what you said, you're a bigot. I don't want to listen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that on both sides.
Oh, man. It's like you're taking the most... Like, no one can physically comprehend any economical problem, any political problem in America.
Right.
You cannot. It's such a complex idea, and like what you were saying with all of your beliefs, you can't just say you're a conservative.
Oh yeah.
No, you got all these different beliefs. It's a complex, and yet we just want the simple answer. You're a bigot.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
but I think even it's the whole thing that if you don't pick one side, they both hate you. You know. But I think this country is so amazing and so great, but it feels wounded, almost. I feel like it's wounded, and not from any outside entity because no one can mess with us. that's my
come
vibe.
on, yeah.
Yeah, we're the best military, but I think the only way America gets destroyed is from the inside. And I say we are doing a damn good job right now.
That's a good point.
We're doing a hell of a job of trying to bring down our own country. And no one group is at fault. It's both sides. And until both sides accept their responsibility, I think you're just going to have this. And this is not a Donald Trump problem.
Exactly.
This is a respect problem.
Yes.
This is a listening problem. And until we get to that point, I just think it's going to get worse and worse until we have, I hate to say it, but tragedy brings people together. And,
oh man, not to cut you off, but
of course,
the Harvey.
Oh yeah,
that was the most humanistic thing I've ever seen in my lifetime.
We came together,
and it was home. It was home for me and you.
Yeah.
And I had friends from way up north call me and tell me about it, and it's all over the news, all over the big broadcasting stations, and how this just in from Houston, donate here, we got recording artists that we haven't heard from 20 years donating money for Pray for Houston. I'm like, dude, this is what it's about. We're all helping each other. We're all Texans. We're all Americans helping each other. People from Tennessee were coming down.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. Moments like that restore my faith in
humanity.
humanity. Not just my faith in humanity, but especially my faith in America.
Mm-hmm.
That, we spend 99% of our time fighting amongst each other. But for those tiny moments when we come together, we are good at it.
Oh, man.
And we can get crap done.
Yes.
You know, shit gets done quick just because,
right.
You know, just because we're so powerful together.
Yeah.
You know, when we're together, shit gets done so quick. People get helped.
Mm-hmm.
Society changes. Change becomes the standard.
Help becomes the standard.
Help becomes the standard. But I think we lose that, and unfortunately, we need dramatic examples to change that. You know, it's like a hurricane. You know, we needed a hurricane to stop the fighting in Texas. We have fighting in Texas.
Yeah.
You know, let alone what it takes to fix this country. We saw what happened with 9/11. Everybody came together.
Home,
you know,
yeah.
But we lost that, and we lost it in a big way. And you know what? But it goes back to the whole adage. You still have hope.
Yeah.
I have hope.
Like that, man.
You know, I still have hope for every person. My parents brought me up colorblind. You know, they brought me up colorblind in terms of you look at everybody as a person. Mm-hmm. You don't see color anymore. And your friends, your family, your loved ones, it's not about he's black, he's white, he's Hispanic. Like, she's Courtney, you know. She's Dr. Dorothy Muhammad, Dr. Clark. That's what it is. Not a race thing. I hate when people reduce it to a race thing.
Yeah.
You know, I hate that. It pisses me off. I don't view, some people are like, it's adorable that your girlfriend and you are together mixed and all that. And I was like, it is adorable. I think it's great. You know?
I mean, yeah,
but I didn't see her as a white girl. She didn't see me as a Hispanic. Mm-hmm. Just two people who got together, who loved each other, who saw each other as human beings and people, and that's what got us together. Yeah. Not anything else. And if anybody says anything else, they're lying. Because nobody says, I like that white person or I like that black person. No, you're belittling the human experience by doing that.
I couldn't say that better.
You're reducing the human experience by doing that because we all bleed the same, mm-hmm. you know, the same color. So it makes no sense to me to hate another group or belittle another group based on color or ethnicity or gender or sexual orientation, just because we all, at the end of the day, bleed the same. And at the end of the day, we're all going to, you know, have our day of judgment.
I like that, man.
And so that's how I view it. That's
perfect.
Excellent.
I could not say it better myself.
Excellent.
That's
excellent.
awesome.
Glad to hear.
Man, I'm going to start preaching that to everybody.
All good. All good. Excellent. Glad to hear.
Oh, man. I appreciate this so much. You have no idea. I love having conversation in general, and it's like how often do you actually sit across from someone else for a few hours without looking at your phone, without worried about other shit?
Right.
How often do you do that?
You know, and I appreciate you having me on, and it was refreshing. That's the word I can say. It was refreshing.
Thank you.
Because I can't recall the last time I wasn't on my phone for this long.
Really?
I'm sure when I step out and I open my phone, there'll be 1,000 calls and messages.
Oh yeah,
But it's nice to escape the world for a little bit,
right?
And just talk on just a person-to-person level.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you having me on. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Thanks, man.
You did such a great job, and I loved it. And I hope that the message that I spread here about my work and my research, I hope somebody picks up on it, and maybe that inspires them to look into what I'm doing, and maybe inspires them to do what I want to do also.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, man, you got me.
I appreciate that.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks
man.
for the time.
Yes. All right. We out.
Out of here. Go Saints.